What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Sunday, August 9th, 2020. I am your host, Monte Perez, aka the Sports Whisperer. You can follow me on all sorts of social media: Twitter, MonteJP231, Facebook, Monte Perez, and Instagram, Monte Perez2. That is with an E, not a Y. I want to thank everyone for tuning in the past month. We set a very high goal, and we came very close to reaching it. So I want to thank everyone who has tuned in. If you like this show, if you like sports, you like comedy, feel free to repost this throughout the week. Tell your friends, tell your family. Our goal is to do this 5 days a week, and I can only do this with your help. And also, feel free to comment on the top right-hand corner. The comments during the show are absolutely hilarious. We love reading them as the show goes on. So definitely feel free to comment. But first, let me just say this. I did a terrible job last week. Terrible job of reading this comment. Bully the Line on Twitter, Jason Ollie, posted a great post at the start of the show. And again, I did a terrible job. Okay. He said, a tradition like no other, Monte on Sundays. Now, if I wasn't going to get sued by the Masters, that would be my new slogan, my new logo, a tradition like no other, Monte on Sunday. So thank you so much to Jason Ollie, Bully the Line, who's been on my show, been on my podcast, and we'll get him on this show down the road. Listen, one of the reasons why we're having so much success is we have the best guests all across the country, and this week is no exception. In about 20 minutes, John Meyer is going to join us to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Super Bowl. What's happening after the Super Bowl? Players want to get paid. Some players are opting out for COVID-19. So he's going to break down the Kansas City Chiefs and the AFC West. Then a dose of Diener. Steven Diener will join us to talk about the Miami Hurricanes, college football, and the Miami Heat. Look, Miami Heat lost a tough game yesterday, but they're playing very well in the bubble. One of the teams you do not want to play if you're a top seed. I don't want to play Indiana if I'm in the East. I don't want to play Miami. And look, I don't know anyone who wants to play the Denver Nuggets or the Portland Trail Blazers, even though they lost to the Clippers yesterday. Listen, the bubble it's super competitive in the NBA, and we'll get more to that. But Steven Diener is the producer, host, writer for South Florida Fox Sports 640 AM. Definitely want to check him out. And then former cast member. You guys remember the show King of Queens? Great show, one of my favorite shows. Alex Scooby will join us. He played Carrie Heffernan's boss, Mr. Prezance. He's a tremendous follow on social media. He's so funny. And, you get to know Alex. You'll get to know, he's been on my podcast, but you'll see him on the show. It's amazing to see what he did on the King of Queens because he plays like a quirky, nerdy boss, and that's not him at all. Alex is going to talk about the Miami Dolphins and also talk about COVID-19, what's happening with players and happening out in California. And then, last but not least, Rico, show me the money, Graziano. We'll talk about the NFL and his roundtable discussion. Rico is one of the fan favorites. And listen, for those of you who don't know, Rico's specialty is fantasy football and betting against the spread. Every week during the football season, I give Rico 3 games to bet on. Now, in week 11, everyone usually will take the Jets. Every handicapper across the country will take the Jets and the Patriots, knowing that the Patriots are going to win. It's an easy bet. I don't do that with Rico. What we do is we pick the division rivals. Everyone has the same record or a winning record, so he gets the hardest games of the week. And last year, he was 11 winning weeks, 3 losing weeks, 1 tie. He won a lot of people money. So you definitely want to check that out during the football season. And today we'll have Rico's roundtable discussion. But first, let's begin our journey with this. Now, I went to the deli the other day. to get a sandwich. But before I tell you what happened, we have to go back and really just talk about where I am when I go out in public. These are my lovely parents. Okay? That's Reyes and George. My parents have a social disorder. They have some sort of malfunction because when they go out, they like talking to people. My parents like human beings. They'll talk to the waiter, the bartender, the couple across. And what's even more disturbing about my parents liking people is they listen to people. You go out in public, most people want to talk because their wife hates them, doesn't listen to them. Their husband hates them, they don't want to listen. My parents like listening to people. They like interacting. Now me, I'm the opposite. I like five people in the world, and two of them are right here. And I also like LeBron James, who I've never met. So basically, I only like two people in the world. And my whole goal in life when I go outside is to avoid the impending catastrophe that's going to come talk to me. I could be at the gym, I could be at the beach, I could be riding my bike. Anywhere I am, someone is going to come up to me and tell me their life story. So, as most animals do in the wild, I've developed a defense system. I bring my headphones, my earbuds everywhere I go. And when someone tries to tell me about their problems, I say, I can't hear you. And that usually wards them off. This is a great thing. I don't want to talk to anyone when I go out. So I'm at the deli and I order my favorite sandwich: multigrain hero, turkey, pepperoni, shredded lettuce, tomatoes, spicy mustard. I don't get honey mustard. It's sweet. I'm sweet enough. So I don't get honey mustard. And I get banana peppers every once in a while. Now, the sandwich has nothing to do with this story, but I just want you to feel a part of who I am. And you could tell a person about a sandwich. So I go into the deli. There's no one there but me and the owner. I've seen this guy there all the time. So I order my sandwich, and right away he starts, slicing the turkey like normal. And then all of a sudden he goes, he shuffles. He shuffles when he walks. No one's in the store. So my first reaction is, okay, he's talking to someone on his phone. But I look at his ears, he doesn't have an earbud. So he's slicing the turkey, he puts the turkey away, he looks right at me, and again, he goes, he shuffles. He shuffles when he walks. So my instinct, I know he's now talking to me. My instinct is this, right? Got my earbuds, not going to pay attention. And he says to me, "Are you deaf?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Why are you pointing to your ears?" And a state of shock came over me because I left my earbuds in the car. So now I'm engaged in this conversation. I'm engaged. Now, I'm looking at the live audience right now here in the studio. I'm looking at you at home, and you don't realize the significance of the insanity that I'm dealing with right now. The guy is having a conversation in his head, and he starts talking to me midway through his conversation. I don't know what the hell's going on. So I don't know what to do here. What are my options? My options are say, hey, I forgot my wallet. I'll be right back, and never, ever go out. But I'm hungry. Never come back to the store, but I'm hungry. So I say, sir, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. He goes, he shuffles when he walks. Sir, who shuffles when he walks? The guy who lives above me. He moved in last month, and I work 7 to 3. He works 4 to 11, and every time he comes home, he wakes me up because he keeps his shoes on, and he shuffles when he walks. I haven't slept in 2 weeks. What am I supposed to do here? Am I a lifesaver? What am I supposed to do? So I'm going to leave the store, right? But I'm so hungry. I just say, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you bring them a soda, a bag of chips, write them a nice note and say, hey, when you come home, can you take off your shoes? So this way I don't wake up. And he said, you know what? That's a great idea. He's like, I thought I was going to have to fight this guy. He's like, you know what? Do you want a free soda? I was like, no, no, I'm good. I'm good. Just can you just make my sandwich, please? So he makes my sandwich, and I felt good about myself. And again, I say this all the time, people. I say this all the time. Not all superheroes wear capes, right? And here's my thought process. Part of me is saying, I was going to leave the store, but part of me is saying, don't leave because my parents, they love helping people. Try to do the right thing. And then out of nowhere, while the guy's talking to me, the movie Billy Madison comes into mind with Adam Sandler. Now, this guy hasn't slept in 2 weeks. He's having conversations with me that he's having in his head. So I'm assuming he's going to kill the guy upstairs. So now I say to myself, Billy, what would Billy Madison do? If you remember the movie with Adam Sandler, Billy Madison calls Steve Buscemi and says, hey, I was mean to you in high school. I bullied you. I'm sorry. So as you see here, people to kill, he crossed it off. This guy, first of all, I'm never going back to the deli. I'm never going back to that deli because now the guy might think we're friends. And I don't want to be friends with people who are having conversations with themselves and then include me in the conversation. But not all heroes wear capes. Did I lose the entire audience? Does anyone have any idea what I'm talking about? No. And that's fine because, like I said, I always cater to the 1%. I don't cater to the thousands of people watching this show. I cater to the 1% who remember that obscure reference from Billy Madison. Now, speaking of obscure reference, I want to give a big, big shout out to my brother Peter, who needs to get credit. He is my lighting director on set. Now, as you can see with the lighting, not too dark, not too light. My brother has been complaining for a month that he doesn't get credit. He did not get credit for a play called Crossing Currents, an off Broadway play where he was the producer. And this was 17 years ago, and he's still bitter about that. So maybe my brother Pete is now crossing off the name of people he has to kill because I'm giving him lighter producer credit. Like I said, he's still miserable about an off Broadway play that he did not get credit for as the producer. So, Peter, thank you for, take care of my lighting. And please, whatever you do not kill me in my sleep. Thank you very much. Now, we start each show. Am I totally gone off the rails here? We start each show with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, let's start with the good. Here is our governor here in Florida, Ron DeSantis, in the background there, wearing the mask. Now, Ron DeSantis doesn't even know how to wear a mask. Maybe that's part of the problem why the pandemic is so bad here in Florida. Look at the yellow strap hanging from his three chins. Ron DeSantis doesn't even know that yellow strap there in the background needs to go on his other ear. He doesn't know. So in 2018, Floridians like myself, I moved here in 2017. We voted in the ballot box to allow ex-convicts to vote in the 2020 election. Well, Ron DeSantis says, no, I am not going to honor the will of the voters. What I'm going to do here is we're going to suspend and fine anyone who's an ex-convict and wants to vote. They need to pay a fine. So in comes LeBron James, and here's with the good. An organization started by NBA superstar LeBron James and other black athletes and entertainers announced Friday that it will help Floridians with prior felony convictions register to vote in November elections. More Than a Vote said it will donate over $100,000 to Florida Rights Restoration Coalition Fund for Floridians struggle to pay off outstanding fees and fines associated with their felony conviction before they register to vote. We believe that your right to vote shouldn't depend upon whether or not you can pay to exercise it. That came from Miami Heat forward Udonis Haslem. Listen, I am so impressed with everything that the NBA is doing from Commissioner Adam Silver. The bubble has been amazing. These guys are putting their money where their mouth is. This has been a tremendous job from start to finish. Look, even the visuals look amazing. Here is Tim Hardaway Jr. of the Dallas Mavericks playing the Houston Rockets. Look at this picture. Look at the virtual fans in the background. Look at the virtual fans in the background. I mean, they're doing everything right. The NBA has become the leaders of the free world on how to fight the coronavirus. Isolate yourself. Be in a bubble. But I'm not missing anything. Listen, it's great to have the energy of the fans, but the competition has been fierce. It's been exciting. And look at the visuals, man. The NBA is doing a tremendous, tremendous job in the bubble. And I couldn't be more pleased with what they're doing. Now, we go to the good, now to the bad. Always remember that fan is short for fanatical. Fan is short for fanatical. Here is Buffalo Bills Pro Bowl cornerback Tre'Davious White. He wrote this on Twitter. Crazy that me choosing my family well-being over a game comes with so-called fans attacking and questioning me and saying I'm selfish. No, you guys are selfish for thinking that a football game is bigger than life. Oh, by the way, my girlfriend's grandfather passed from COVID-19. You understand now? He also put, let me just explain one thing. There was so much hatred and vitriol and racism because he was thinking about opting out. Now, he's going to play. He's going to play. But the racism, the vitriol, the hatred for this man, and then they was calling him stupid, ignorant. So he just responded with this. I was my high school class valedictorian. I was a 2-time all SEC academic honor roll student. Also, I graduated in 3.5 years from LSU. Guys, let me just be clear here. If your life is ruined because a player opts out, you need to get a life. You need to get a life. We all love sports. Sports was gone for 4 months because our government is not handling the coronavirus pandemic, but we survived. Those of us watching this show, the NBA right now, ratings are up 158%. I can't imagine what the NFL is going to do. I can't imagine. The ratings are going to be off the charts. But I don't get mad if a player opts out. I take care of your family. That's more important than playing the game. And now, finally, we do the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, this is Zion Williamson, okay? Now, Zion Williamson played at Duke University, okay? He was an All-American. He played for 1 year. He played for 1 year. And Zion, okay, was a phenom at Duke. He went there with R.J. Barrett, and R.J. Barrett was considered the best player in high school. Zion surpassed him, okay? Zion surpassed him. He was drafted #1 overall by the New Orleans Pelicans. Here he is right here. And I compared him to a more athletic, powerful Charles Barkley. Now, Charles Barkley, Hall of Famer, great player. But Zion Williamson, okay, is averaging at 20 years old, 22.3 points, 6.4 rebounds. He's shooting 58%. And here's the worst part about it. He's getting criticized left and right. People are calling him fat. People are saying he's out of shape. Again, Charles Barkley was fat his whole career. Okay, Hall of Famer. Let me repeat those numbers for you. 22.3 points, 6.4 rebounds. He's shooting 58%. Now let's compare that to some NBA greats. Okay? Dwayne Wade, his rookie year, 16 points, 4 rebounds per game. Kobe Bryant, the legend of Kobe Bryant, played 71 games his rookie year, 7 points, 1 rebound per game. 7 points, 1 rebound per game. And a player who's been extremely critical of Zion Williams right here, Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds per game. So when you ask me, okay, why are we criticizing Zion Williams? Why? Why? There's no reason to. He's averaging 22 points a game. 22 points a game. He's a freak of nature. So I don't understand why people are attacking him when he's doing better. He's doing better than everyone that I just gave on that list. He's doing better than everyone on that list. So can we stop with the criticism of Zion Williamson? He's 20 years old. Let the guy grow on the job. He's doing better than 3 Hall of Famers. And listen, I have a little soft spot for him because he's a Duke former player. So there you have it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, before we get John Meyer on, let's surf the crowd. Here we go. George Lopez. LeBron is using his platform to give back. Exactly. I don't know how people hate LeBron. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. He just, the guy is a winner on and off the field. It's just. Oh, look at this. Monte's parents. Couple of goats. Yeah, let's get my parents back up there. Look at them. Very nice. All right. Thank you for all the comments. Definitely keep them coming. We love them. We'll try to get as many as we can on during the show. But first, well, not really first. Let's get them on first. Then I'll say but first. Okay. How are you? How's it going today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. First, I want to post this because we like to get people, and I said first because I was so excited for you because I don't know what this feels like to be a Jet fan. So talk to our fans. What does that image mean to you right there, being a lifelong Kansas City Chief fan?
It feels great. It's an awesome feeling to actually get that championship. Chiefs fans in their history have had 2 20-year stretches where they haven't won a playoff game. So as a Jets fan, I think you can relate a little bit. But finally getting over the hump last year it just makes your heart
see you
proud.
have your Chiefs champs in the background. But can you repeat that stat again about playoff wins?
Okay, so the Chiefs from 70 to 91 did not have a playoff win, and then from 94 to 2015 did not have a playoff win. So 2 20-year stretches where the Chiefs did not have playoff wins.
Okay, John, can you just turn up your sound a little bit? I'm having a little trouble hearing you, if you could, and I'll turn it up on my end. So we should be good. Yeah, we should be good. All right, so let's get right to it. I have a big question here for you, and I got into an argument this week with someone because to me, the greatest tight end of all time is Tony Gonzalez. People are saying that Travis Kelce is better than Tony Gonzalez. What say you?
Tony G is the best ever, but you're comparing apples and oranges there. It's a different game for the tight end position. Tony G had a lot to do with the evolution of the position, but he was just that prototypical professional. He would go out there each and every game and what you would get from him. Travis Kelce's, had some immaturity issues in his career. The numbers are better, but I think that's just because the position has evolved over the last 20 some odd years.
So you agree with me that Tony Gonzalez really, and I would say Jimmy Graham a little bit too, Kellen Winslow back in the day, but some fans may not know the San Diego Chargers. You're saying Tony Gonzalez really took the tight end position into the next level, correct?
Yeah. Shannon Sharp started it, as hard as that is to say as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but Tony G just took it to another level. And I think everybody compares that position to the stats that Tony G, I believe he's second or third all time in catches right now.
Yeah, no, listen, and he was a very good college basketball player as well.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to this. Let's talk some NFL here before we get to the Chiefs. Everyone comes on my show and they say the most improved team is the Arizona Cardinals. What am I missing here? They were 5-10-1 last year. They're playing in the toughest division with the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Super Bowl runner-up San Francisco 49ers. How is Arizona going to be the most improved team? Am I wrong to think people are crazy here, or am I the crazy one?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I went and looked at the schedule. I went and looked at the roster. Just, I don't study the Arizona Cardinals all that often. They have some good pieces. Kyler Murray is going to be a good NFL quarterback. I know a lot of people have concerns about his stature and how that's going to hold up over time in the NFL. But they have a 3-week stretch from weeks 10 to 12 where they're at home versus Buffalo, at Seattle, and at New England. That's as rough of a stretch of football as you're going to see all season long. I see 7-9, 8-8. That's a jump, but that doesn't get you in the playoffs this year.
I'm in total agreement with you there. I mean, when I think of teams taking the next step, I look at the San Francisco who didn't make the playoffs. They went to the Super Bowl. I look at, a team like Baltimore who went 8-8. They put Lamar Jackson in. They get better over the 2 years. So I look at teams that, listen, a lot. I think the Miami Dolphins, who went 5-11 this year. I think they have a good chance to go 9-7. That's a big jump. But
Yeah.
if you don't make the playoffs, people are talking about this Arizona team like they kind of talked about the Cleveland Browns last year. And we saw what a train wreck they were. Now, I think Kyler Murray is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, but people are anointing this Arizona Cardinal team like they're the next playoff contender.
Yeah, so here's the thing that I like about the Cardinals. Their wide receivers are as good as any core in the NFL. When you look at Christian Kirk and the adding of DeAndre Hopkins and Hakeem Butler, who's just a freak athlete at 6'7", 245 pounds playing the wide receiver position, just a matchup nightmare. And then you have the guy that never goes away in Larry Fitzgerald. But when you look at running back one, Kenyon Drake, that's what you're going out there with as your number one running back option. I just don't like it. Very little at the tight end position. Their defensive secondary is really good. And then you got Chandler Jones, who's a great pass rusher. But it boils down to their head coach, Cliff Kingsbury. He never won more than 7 games at Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback.
I'm amazed at Cliff Kingsbury because he lost in the Big 12. Like you said, I think he had 1 bowl game. He was just terrible as a head coach. He doesn't coach defense. He's the dyslexic version of Rex Ryan. Like Rex Ryan only coaches defense. Cliff Kingsbury only. You know what? I got to do something right now because when we say at the end of the day or any corny saying or when I use Rex Ryan in my terminology, everyone watching the show has to take a shot. So feel free, guys. I didn't think I was going to bring in Rex Ryan this week, but he always finds a way to come into my show. So. Cheers to everyone. Okay, now the NFL came out with their top 100 players. I don't pay attention to lists because they're all opinions. But when Carson Wentz is not on the top 100 list, I have a problem with that. That's just really annoyed me. But let's talk about the top 5 list, and you could tell me if you agree or disagree. Lamar Jackson is number 1. Russell Wilson is number 2. Aaron Donald, number 3, the defensive tackle for the Rams. Patrick Mahomes, number 4. And Michael Thomas, who I said last year going into the season was the best wide receiver in the NFL. People thought I was crazy. How do you feel about that top 5 list?
I think the right players are on the top 5 list. I don't necessarily agree with the order. People are going to expect me to be a homer on Patrick Mahomes here going number 1 overall. I think Aaron Donald's the best player in the NFL. He just is so disruptive there in the middle. But
I said this week,
is nowhere.
I said this week he's another Reggie White, and people thought I was crazy. But if you look at the numbers, you can't stop him.
Yeah, there's a reason why Pro Football Focus ranks him the number one player year in and year out. He's the best. Lamar Jackson, I get that these ratings came out or they voted on these in November. Lamar Jackson was tearing up the world at that point in time and should probably be in the top 5 somewhere there. But the reality is the Chiefs just gave Patrick Mahomes $500 million, and you don't do that for the 4th best player in the league.
It's funny because I said last week on the show, I said Derrick Henry is considered by most to be a top 3 or 4 running back. And Derrick Henry signed a $50 million contract. Patrick Mahomes signed a contract worth $400 million. So the best running back in the league, arguably, is Derrick Henry. He's making $50 million. The best quarterback in the league, arguably Patrick Mahomes, is making over $450 million. How can 2 of the best players at their position? That's how valuable Patrick Mahomes is, right?
Yeah, that's how valuable it is. And there's just not a value for running backs in the NFL. You got a shelf life of 3 to 4 years on top tier running backs, and then they're gone. The exceptions are the Adrian Petersons of the world, but are we going to remember Derrick Henry's what did he end up with 1,400 yard season 5 years from now? We're not.
No, I agree. That's a great point. Look, I put up your Chiefs background, so let's start talking Chiefs. Chiefs running back Damian Williams is opting out of the 2020 season. LaShawn McCoy is going to play with the Tampa Bay Bucks. So I guess rookie Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU. My brother Pete loves this kid. He's an LSU fan. I guess he's going to get the bulk of the touches, right?
One would think so, but with Andy Reid running that offense, you never know. I think it's going to be a running back by committee. I think another fellow LSU alum, Darrell Williams, is going to get a lot of touches. He's a little different running back, a little bit more between the tackles power guy. I could see him getting a lot of the touches, especially in third down situations, short yardage situations. We have a second-year player out of Utah State, Darwin Thompson, who's a little of a scat back type, kind of similar, but not as bulky as Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then we have Patrick Mahomes, former teammate at Texas Tech, and DeAndre Washington we picked up from the Raiders.
Talk a little bit about him. DeAndre Washington. Talk about him.
I think I liked what he was doing when he was with the Raiders. He seemed to have 2 or 3 good games against the Chiefs where, we couldn't get hands on him and he would break out to the outside. He doesn't like to run between the tackles, which the Chiefs need somebody who can actually do that. I think he's just going to be really down on that pecking order because he's similar to 2 other guys that are already.
I was going to say they're all similar in their approach, right? There'll be a good third down back, but on 3rd and 1, 4th and a few inches, who's going to be the power back there?
I think it's going to be Darrell Williams.
Okay.
I think maybe as the year goes on and they've built some trust with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he might be that guy. He might be a three down back, and I sure hope so. If you can have that on a rookie contract for 4 or 5 years, that's an asset to have, especially with the contract that Patrick Mahomes just signed.
Okay, after moving to the front line in the fight against COVID-19 in the offseason, after Super Bowl champion run protecting Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs, offensive lineman Laurent Tardif announced his decision Friday to opt out of the 2020 season. How is Chiefs Nation looking at this man? He's a doctor. Is he a hero, or are they criticizing him like we saw the Bills defensive back get criticized for thinking about opting out?
Yeah, I haven't heard any criticism from the Canadian doctor, and I wouldn't want to hang out with Chiefs fans who would give him any criticism. He's in a long-term care facility up there in Canada and doing what, he was born to do. Playing football is a hobby for him. Playing in the NFL is a hobby for somebody. I understand how ridiculous that sounds, but he's out there fighting, the biggest pandemic we've ever faced as, a world. And he's, doing it up there in Canada. And I praise him. I hope he's successful up there, and then when he feels that it's safe to come back here to America and play for the Chiefs, he does that. And I think the Chiefs fans will have open arms when he comes back.
No, it's amazing because, like I said, he's one of the things he said, he goes, I don't want to play and then have the opportunity of me getting it or being a carrier and bring it back to my community. So he's helping out. What he's doing is saving lives, and anyone who criticizes him is really, you need to get a life. George Lopez brings up a good point. Only thing that concerns me about the Chiefs is Super Bowl hangover. Will they still have that hunger?
Yeah, they have that hunger. Tyreek Hill's out there talking about how he wants to get 2,000 yards. Chris Jones is talking about how he wants to lead the NFL in sacks this year. There's a fire in these guys. Andy's not going to let that die. Patrick Mahomes, he willed the Chiefs to 2 wins in the playoffs and against Houston and against Tennessee. Just throwing his body out on the line. This team wants more championships, and if they can stay healthy and keep that fire lit underneath them, they're going to get it.
So the Raiders moved to Las Vegas. It's the 3rd time the Raiders have moved in 38 years. Only 2 teams in the modern era who have moved had a winning record. They both went 9-7, the 2017 Chargers and the 1995 Raiders, who moved to LA. The question I have for you is, do the Raiders win more than 8 games? Derek Carr said he's tired of being disrespected. And quite honestly, I think the only one who's disrespecting Derek Carr is John Gruden.
If he's tired of being disrespected, play better.
You know what? That's a good point.
He's out there talking about how all these Raiders should be out on the NFL's top 100 list. Darren Waller's a good player. Is there 98 players better than him? Probably. But, I just – the quarterback position is so important in the NFL, and he's just not good enough to be a playoff quarterback. And the pieces around them just are – they blow themselves up every time they get on the football field. John Gruden, I like him as a coach. I like the way his approach to running a team, but it's the Raiders. I just don't see them being successful. I see them
No,
as a
that's a
6 or
fair
7 win
point.
team.
Definitely fair point. One of the things that I love is we've seen over the past few years, we've seen second-year quarterbacks. Carson Wentz came out of nowhere and really lit it up before he got injured. We saw Patrick Mahomes, second year in the league, really become the MVP. Lamar Jackson. Drew Lock went 4-1 in his last 5 starts in Denver last year. Like I said, we've seen Wentz, Mahomes, Lamar all shine in their second. Is Drew Lock a long-winded question here? Is Drew Lock the next superstar in the NFL? And does he throw for over 28 touchdown passes, over under?
I would go under on that. 28 touchdowns in that division. I think is going to
They
be the top
loaded up
end.
on wide receivers,
I
though.
think he's a 25 to 28 guy this year.
Okay.
I looked at the numbers, and you extend them out over a 16-game schedule, and he was right at 1,000 yards, 7 TDs, 3 interceptions last year. So in 5 games, we know who that one loss was to at Arrowhead. It was a nice welcome home. Drew Lock's a local kid. He's from Lee Summit here in the Kansas City Metro. So I wish him all the success in the world. I think he makes that jump. I think he might be behind Kyler Murray in second-year quarterbacks, but I think he makes that jump. I could see him having a 3,500-yard season with 25, 28 touchdowns. If he can keep that interception ratio down, which was his problem at Missouri. He threw a lot of picks. He just tried to do too much a lot of the times. If he can get the coaching that he needs and can keep it between the ears, I think he can be successful. And I don't know if it's going to be Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or even Carson Wentz improvement, but I think he's going to be a really good NFL quarterback.
One of the things that was so amazing about Drew Lock, I think he in the 4 years of Missouri, he had 4 different offensive coordinators, and he had 2 different offensive coordinators in his first 2 years of this year of his NFL. So hopefully 6 different coordinators. That's a lot. I don't care how smart you are. That's a lot to throw at a young quarterback. But, okay, we look at the Chiefs, and we know they're going to put up numbers. We know they're going to score about 30 points a game. What is your biggest concern on offense? Mine is just a consistent running game. That's my biggest concern. What is your concern on offense?
Offensive line. We got to stay healthy there. We got to protect Patrick Mahomes. That's the key to our success. And with 2 offensive linemen opting out here in the last 10 days or so with LDT and rookie Lucas Niang over, when was that, Thursday? We just need to really build that depth. We've gained $13 million in cap space, so maybe we fill that in. We went and signed Kaleki Asimile. So if he can step in and fill in that void as a former Pro Bowler, that would be great in the interior of the offensive line. The running game, I think we touched on this last time I was on. I don't worry about it because Andy Reid just gets super creative with the way he uses his running backs and the approach he comes to the running game.
And wide receivers on reverses, little bubble screens, stuff like that. That is almost like a run.
We're going to see some gimmick stuff with McCole Hardman and Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill to just really solidify that running game. We use the field sideline to sideline as well as anybody, and so I see Andy just utilizing the speed that we have in all those positions for stuff.
So moving to the other side of the ball, I say this all the time, the NFL has changed. You don't need to have a great defense. You just need to sack the quarterback and have some defensive backs who could get some interceptions and turn the ball over. What is your biggest concern on defense with this team? And also, you're having some young quarterbacks. Derek Carr, I think Derek Carr is going to get benched midway through. And I think Marcus Mariota is going to take over. But what's your biggest concern on defense, and who would be your defensive MVP for this year?
Okay, so I'm glad that you said that. Getting to the quarterback and intercepting the ball are the 2 most important things to do in an NFL defense now. And the Chiefs' biggest glaring weakness is definitely at the linebacker position. Anthony Hitchens just makes me nervous every time I watch him on the football field. He's a linebacker that doesn't tackle. That's not what you want in the NFL. But we got a good piece in Willie Gay Jr. there. I think I've seen a lot of improvement from Damian Wilson at the linebacker position. But the Chiefs get after the quarterback. They have Frank Clark, who's a stud defensive end. You have Chris Jones, if he can stay healthy, just plugs up that middle so well. And then we have some other good pieces: Derek Nottie, Tano Passigno, we have Alex Okafor coming back. And then on the back end, you have Tyrann Mathieu, who just took that defense to another level the second half of the season once Spags schemes kind of went together and those players started gelling. This was a top 7 defense last year at the end of the year. People don't realize that, both points allowed and
Spags gets Spagnuolo gets a lot of criticism, but he was a defense coordinator with the Giants when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's defense coordinator for the Chiefs who won the Super Bowl. He just wins Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's all we asked for. We were so unlucky with Bob Sutton in that defense. Oh my gosh, it was horrendous. And the name I think it's a little better in Kansas City now that we got a Super Bowl, but you said if you would have said Bob Sutton in Kansas City a year ago, you would have had rocks thrown at you. Nobody cared for Bob Sutton. He's a great person, but just terrible defensive coordinator. So the back end of the Chiefs defense, I really like some of the pieces that are there. I mentioned Tyrann Mathieu, the honey badger, the landlord, we call him here in Kansas City because he's collecting rent all the time. But there's 2 pieces I really want Chiefs fans and the NFL to watch out for. Second-year safety, Juan Thornhill. He had a great first 15 games. He tore his ACL in Week 16 going into the playoffs. I think he is the difference maker in the Chiefs season. If he can stay healthy. He's just super athletic. He's a ball hawk. He's big and physical, things that you need from a good safety in the NFL. But the guy that I think is going to be the Chiefs' defensive MVP is Charvarius Ward. He's a lockdown corner that nobody gives any credit to. He's in his 3rd year out of Middle Tennessee State.
John, do you use him? Are they going to use him as they use it like a Darrelle Revis or Sherman back in the day? Just follow the best receiver on the field and just stay with him, or do they mix and match a little bit?
I think they mix and match. I think that's Spags. It's you have one
he
side.
He doesn't do that a lot.
Yeah. So when Bashaud Breeland, whenever his suspension comes up, which I'm sure is coming down for his knucklehead move during the offseason, I think those 2 are going to tandem up to be a great team here in Kansas City. We got another piece in Rashad Fenton, a second-year guy out of Clemson who can lock down the slot there. Another one that I want people to watch out for, second-year guy, Kalen Saunders, guy who did a standing backflip at 330 pounds. Just an athlete. I think he's going to get a lot of snaps there in the defensive line middle. I'm excited about this Chiefs defense. I know the offense gets all the accolades, deservingly so, but I think this defense could surprise a lot of people, and I think we could be top 5 on both sides of the ball this year.
Okay, we're talking with John Meyer on the Full Monty Sports Show. We're going to get a dose of Diener, Stephen Diener, coming up in about. John, we got a minute left, so Just give me a record. I know you did this last time. I want you to give our fans the record of every team in the AFC West. I think the Chargers have the most talent on both sides of the ball in that division, but the big question mark is Oregon quarterback Justin Herbert without a long extended OTAs training camp. Don't know how good he's going to be, but give us your record for every team in the AFC West.
Okay. I'm going to surprise you, I think, with having the Chargers down there at the bottom of the division. I think 5-11 or 6-10 because of what you said. You don't know what's going to happen with that quarterback position, and it's so important. I think the Raiders are right there, just slightly above them at either 6-10 or 7-9. I want to go 6-10 there. And then I think the team that does make the jump this year is the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos are going to be 10-6, make one of those wild card spots, and could give some teams some trouble with the offensive weapons. We'll see how Drew Lock does in the playoffs. And then I think my Chiefs are 13-3. Just a favorable schedule from a lot of standpoints, and just I think the fire and the hunger is there.
All right, John, I know you just were posting a bunch of articles on my page. You're writing about the Chiefs and other things. So how can we support you? How can we follow you on social media? And how can people read what you're writing?
Okay, so my Twitter handle's there on the screen, @MeyerChef. I've been dropping all my articles on my blog, chiefscoffeecorner.food.blog. There, so you can easily find them there. You can find me on Facebook at John Meyer, and then I also have Instagram at John D. Meyer 87. So always posting stuff. Trying to get back into writing a little bit more, but that's it. Try to follow me, and I'll try to put some more stuff out there.
All right, John, love having you on. Love when you come on and talk Chiefs. We'll have you on again once training camp gets going. Any
Sounds great.
injuries, anything that go on. You are a tremendous wealth of knowledge when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. So we love having you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, Monte. Have a wonderful day.
All right, that was John Meyer. Definitely try to follow him. He does a tremendous job covering the Chiefs. Posted a bunch of articles this week. He's starting to get back into writing again. And listen, as you can see, he does a great job of breaking down the Chiefs and the AFC West. Very knowledgeable. Real quickly, let's before we get Steven Diener on, let's surf the crowd one more time. I posted this picture of my parents early on in the show. There you see my lovely parents. And, my dad kind of talking a little trash. I didn't even know my dad was watching the show. He usually ignores me. But look what my dad wrote. Wow. Talk about confidence, Dad. Good job. Right there. So we're going to bring on Steven Diener. You can hear him every day at 11:55. A dose of Diener on 6:40 a.m. Fox Sports. Steven, how are you today?
Good, Monty. How are you? Nice to see you again.
I'm doing good. Let's change the background here for a minute. Get the little Miami Heat background there for you. I know you like that. So, Steve, we try to, I have to ask you this question because, again, I got into an argument again on social media this week. First, I'm going to show you this little picture here, and you tell me what you think about this. And I don't even know if this is the right one. Here we go. What does this bring back right there?
It's just smiles overall, just happy memories. Makes me smile. That was a lot of fun, man. I think that might have been Christmas, actually. I think those were the Christmas jerseys they were wearing. Just so many alley-oops. I mean, the full court passes that they used to do to each other. Of course, the iconic sports picture of Dwayne Wade's arms outstretched as LeBron is throwing it down against Milwaukee. They were one of the best. I won't say the best because I know there's a lot, but one of the best alley-oop tandems of all time. Just incredible fun.
Steve, can you just turn up the mic a little bit? Again, I'm having trouble hearing you. There we go. And so here's my question, Steven, as we have the Miami Heat fan in the background there. Was it a disappointment? To me, if you go to the NBA Finals for 4 straight years and you have 2 titles, it's not a disappointment, right?
No, not to me. I mean, I know some people keep going back and forth with that. But they say, oh, you should be disappointed because you didn't win, the not 1, not 2, that famous thing from LeBron. They went to the finals 4 straight years. I mean, you go back to back. You could say they should have beat Dallas. Sure, I agree with you there. But that was kind of the maturation of LeBron James as he was getting, backed up into the post by J.J. Barea. He had still some things to learn. Would have been great if they gotten 3 in a row. But I'm perfectly happy with the fact that I got to go to 2 championship parades, watch them 4 times in the finals. There's no disappointment for me at all. And then shouldn't be looked at as we go through sports history as a disappointment. Not at all.
Now, Steven, is that the quarantine beard, or is that something you always wear there?
This is kind of the look. It's a little bit more kind of grown in than what it normally is. But I would say I'm a few days away from trimming it down a little bit.
All right. A lot of people are doing the quarantine beard.
Right.
I had the quarantine goatee. I actually shaved it. All right. So let's get right to this, Steve. We want to talk about the Miami Hurricanes. We want to talk about college football. I am a college football beyond fan, but let's break this down right here. Okay. Let's break this down. My top 5 Miami Hurricanes of all time, as you can see there, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Warren Sapp, Sean Taylor, Michael Irvin. I have Edgerrin James at 6. Give us your top 5 Miami Hurricanes of all time.
Yeah, it's so hard. Golly. I'll tell you, you could do top 5 position by position, and it would still be hard.
And it'll be a list of Hall of Famers, too.
Right. I mean, just because of all the talent that they've had. I like that flag. I'm going to go, I agree with you on a few. Edgerrin James, I actually put in my top 5 because of what he did for that program. Pretty much breaking out against UCLA on that December game and kind of vaulting Miami into their next dynasty, if you will.
Exactly.
In the late 90s, early 2000s. I go Ray Lewis. I go Ed Reed. I actually go a little bit of a different direction here. I waffling kind of between Andre Johnson and Ken Dorsey. And I know it sounds weird to say Ken Dorsey because it wasn't a big NFL career, But for the Miami Hurricanes, I think he only lost, what, one game? So you're talking best Canes of all time. He has to be in consideration. And then Brian McKinney, I think you put in there as well. Maybe the best left tackle they've ever had.
Think about how deep they were. At one point, Greg Olson, tight end, was third on the Miami Hurricane depth chart. Greg Olson, who's a borderline Hall of Fame tight end, was third on the Miami Hurricane depth chart. And I disagree with George here. Bernie Kosar, listen, he was a legend because he won a national championship, but Vinny Testaverde was a much more skilled quarterback. So do you agree that Bernie Kosar should be on the outside looking in or no?
Unfortunately, and that's not to hit on Bernie at all. I love Bernie Kosar, but you have to. There's so much modern day talent as well. I know you can even look back at the Otis Andersons of the world when it comes to the Miami Hurricanes. And you mentioned
Jim Kelly.
Yeah, Jim Kelly, Vinny Testaverde. Gino Toretto won a Heisman. Again, not a guy that had a big NFL career, but these are guys who had great careers for the Miami Hurricanes. So that's what I'm saying. It's so hard to choose, and if George wants to put Bernie in there, he's not wrong. I mean,
no, listen, that's why when I made this list, it was so hard to choose because there's so listen, I left Edger and James out. That's I mean, how can you leave them out? All right, so I look at the Miami Hurricanes a lot like I look like other dynasties like Notre Dame, who no longer there. I think Miami, since the late 80s, have been much more successful than Notre Dame, but they're a dynasty that's no longer. They won a championship in 83, 87, 89, 91, 2001. Over the past 20 years, the Florida Gators have become a better program. Scott Frost's last year, I love Scott Frost, for UCF. He's now at Nebraska. They had a better recruiting class than Miami. How is this once legendary program fallen off the top 10 national prominence?
I think you can point to a lot of things. I hate to blame it all on this one game, but there was a turning point here, Monte, and that was after the Fiesta Bowl against Ohio State, where 2002, you mentioned some of the years the Hurricanes won their titles. I hate to be a shoulda, woulda, coulda guy, but there should have been two more in there. In 86, when they lost to Penn State, the camouflage game. And in 2002, when they lost, air quotes, lost to Ohio State after the, phantom pass interference call. When that game happened, when that took place, the team, for some reason, just kind of never really got over it. And you had the coaching carousel after that with Larry Coker eventually leaving. You have Randy Shannon coming in. You have Al Golden coming in. I think a lot of it also had to do with who they were bringing in. Guys like Randy Shannon, even though he was a former Cane, were trying to change the culture. You have Al Golden, who wasn't allowing former players on the sideline. One of the staples of Miami Hurricanes culture is to have these legends who played for you come back and teach the young kids. And they weren't allowing that. And it's like, what are you doing? So there was those things where they were trying to change the culture and even Mark Richt started to bring it back a little bit.
Listen,
Mark Richt and you think,
Mark Richt
he had a couple of really good seasons.
Mark Richt came here in 2016 from Georgia. He turned Georgia into a top 10 program. Say whatever you want about his coaching ability. One of the strengths of Mark Richt was he was out recruiting for a while Nick Saban in Alabama. So when he comes to the Miami Hurricanes, he goes 26-13. He leaves. Now we have Manny Diaz. They went 6-7 last year. He's making $3 million per year.
Mm-hmm.
Steven, if Manny Diaz doesn't win 9 games, do they fire him?
I don't think so, and here's why. Because if you had asked me that question 5 months ago, I would have said, yeah, they have to be in the ACC title game. But with what every team is facing now, with hopefully playing during a pandemic, I almost feel like they might give him a pass because of the waters that they have to navigate through this. But I don't think they're going to go 6-7 again. I really don't. I'm not just saying that because I'm a huge fan. I'm saying.
Oh, we just lost Steven. Yeah. All right, Steven, try to come back. Listen, he makes a great point. Listen, because of the pandemic now, we're seeing a lot of coaches on the hot seat. Manny Diaz went 6-7 in Miami. Last year, in his first year, he was defensive coordinator. A lot of people thought he'd be able to recruit heavily in the Florida area, and he didn't do the job last year. Listen, when you're 6-7 at Miami, that's like going 6-7 at Notre Dame. That's like going six. I'm not going to compare Miami to Alabama because they're not in that stratosphere. But Miami, as we mentioned it, they won a championship in 1983. They won a championship in 1987. They won a championship in 1989, 91, and 2001. So let's get Stephen right back here. Stephen, you bring up a great point about the pandemic. Budgets right now in college football, in college athletics, we know this. College football and basketball bring in all the money. They bring in all the money. And we're seeing now, because there might not be fans, we're seeing now that teams are just going to their straight conference play. You know, Alabama's not going to play out of conference. The ACC is not playing out of conference. So you're saying Manny Diaz kind of has a bye this year, playing with house money, so to speak?
Yeah, I think he might, honestly, because just what we were saying, they have to. It's such a unique situation that I don't think we can fault anybody in any program if they don't have the type of season that they were hoping for, you know, when spring ball was supposed to start in March. So, but that being said, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, Monte, like what happened to the dynasty? What happened in the past 20 years? Another thing that happened was they stopped recruiting what we call the state of Miami. They started losing those guys to Clemson, to Alabama, to Georgia, to USC, to Texas, all the big schools who've been doing so well over the years, even the UCFs of the world who started getting some of these guys, right? So with that being said, they're getting that now. Manny Diaz has brought that back. And Ed Reed, who we mentioned too, is one of the top best guys of all time for Miami. With him being on this staff now, that's huge for these young guys in the inner cities of Miami and in South Florida and Broward County, because they know him. He's a legend.
I say this all the time. I grew up in New Jersey. Okay, you look at the top 5 or 6 states for blue chip prospects, and for those who don't really follow college football, what that means is there are 6 states that produce the best college football players across the country. Not in order, but it goes California, Texas, Florida, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Right. Ohio State, I lived in Ohio for a year. Every kid dreams about going to and playing for Ohio State. Rutgers in New Jersey, if they just kept a fourth of their talent in the Garden State, they would be a top 20 team. So what you're saying right here is really a great point. Ed Reed being on the staff is, if you could just keep a fourth, because you got Florida State, I think UCF is going to fall now that Scott Frost left, but you got Florida. If you could just recruit Florida and Miami, Broward County, Hollywood, Florida, you're going to see a tremendous amount of talent. Now, before we get to the NBA, we have a couple of minutes here. We're talking to Stephen Diener on the Full Monty Sports Show. Alex Scooby, former actor of King of Queens, is going to come on and talk about Miami Dolphins, which Stephen Diener loves as well. Talk about the ACC. It's been dominated by Clemson since Dabo Swinney took over. Listen, 5 years. In the last 5 years, they're 38-2 in conference. 38-2 in conference. How does Miami compete with Clemson?
Well, we're going to find out that answer on October 10th when they go play them. It's tough, man. And I think the main thing is it's not going to happen this year. I would love for the Miami Hurricanes to beat Clemson in Clemson. Realistically, probably not going to happen. But that's the type of thing that the Miami Hurricanes were at Clemson, right? 20 years ago, they were at Clemson. So they can get back to that by what they're doing now, which is keeping the best players in the country, which come from right down here in South Florida, keeping them in state, in Miami. And if they can do over the next couple of years what they've been doing this year, which is getting these.
All right, Steve, we're having a little trouble with your audio. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
all right. Yeah, I can hear. Okay, Steve, real quick, we're having a little trouble with your audio, but just real quick, I want you to talk about the Miami Heat real quick and the NBA bubble. Look, here's Tyler Hero. He looks like he's 14, but he's lighting it up. I mean, look at him. He looks like a baby, right? But here's my question. Why isn't he playing more minutes? I think he's better than Dunn. I think he's more effective. And I think when you have him and other Miami players on the floor, they stretch the defense and they go small. I don't think he's playing enough. Am I crazy for saying that?
No, it's not a bad point. I mean, I get why they're doing it because, he is the rookie and all that, but he's got so much natural talent. He almost had a triple-double yesterday in the loss to Phoenix. So, look, the Heat are 2-3 in the bubble. It's not what you want to see, but they're dealing with injury, which you also don't want to see. So, you really, at this point, you're hoping that, Jimmy Butler can get healthy, Dragic can get healthy, Kendrick Nunn can get right, and they can be full strength heading into the playoffs against most likely the Pacers, it's looking like. So, no, I love Tyler Hero. I love his game. He's so naturally gifted, so naturally talented that I think you can't have many bad things happen if he plays more. You know what I mean? So I'm with you on that.
So, okay, we have about a minute left before we get Alex Scooby on. Who do you like in the Eastern Conference Finals, and who do you like in the Western Conference Finals? Listen, I don't want to play Portland. I don't want to play Denver. I don't want to play the Indiana Pacers. There are a lot of teams that are on the lower tier that could upset. I'm worried about my Lakers. I'm very worried. Give us your Final Four prediction.
All right. It's kind of chalk in the West Coast. I'm going Lakers, Clippers. I just think they're just the two best teams, even though the Lakers have been playing well. Right now in the bubble, they're still the two best teams with the best players. So Lakers, Clippers there, and I'm not backing off of this, Monty. I'm sticking with it, despite what we've seen in the bubble. Milwaukee against Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I know.
I'm sticking with it.
Listen, Steven, we had a little trouble with your audio, but thanks so much for coming on. And I know that you've been on your dose of Diener every day at 11:55. I listen on Fox Sports 640 here. You keep saying that Miami's going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. So you think they're better than Toronto, and you think they're better than the Celtics?
I think they will end up being better than them. If that makes sense. In the playoffs, they get into those series, and they end up pulling it out.
All right, Steven, how can we follow you and support you?
You see it there at SDiener86 on Twitter. You could always log on to foxsports640.com down here in South Florida, West Palm Beach. Read the articles I've put up and listen every day, 12:55 Eastern time on Fox Sports 640. You hear my dose of Diener, where I just spout out for a few minutes what's on my mind on the biggest subjects.
All right, I think I got it wrong. I said 11:55. It's obviously 12:55.
Central time. Sure.
So thanks so much, Steve. Love having you on. Really appreciate the time.
You got it. Thank you.
All right, that was Steven Diener. Listen, we had a little trouble with his microphone. Hopefully we worked through it. When we come back, Alex Scooby, former actor, King of Queens. Listen, if you're not following Alex Scooby on social media, you will be following him after this segment. You're listening to the full Monte Sports Show. We work hard on Sundays, but you don't have to. All right, Alex, how you doing today?
Monty, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Let's change this background for you. We like to put, a background that makes people feel comfortable. First, I'll start with a little ocean serenity background.
I like that.
All right, Alex, so what we do on this show is we try to make people feel comfortable as soon as they come on. So I'm going to post two pictures here for you, and I want you to tell me which one has more sentimental value to you. First, here we go. King of Queens, Alex Scooby there. That's one. Don't comment yet. Does that give you more a pleasure and sentimental value, or does this give you more pleasure? Dan Marino, the fake spike against the Jets. What say you, Alex?
Well, they both hold value, right? But I'm going to go with that Dolphins one.
I knew you would.
Beautiful. Look at that. Oh,
as a Jet fan, this is the only thing worse as a Jet fan was the butt fumble with Mark Sanchez, but this is just as bad. I mean, this is just classic Marino, right?
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Right there. God, I could watch that on a loop for like hours.
All day. Okay, so Alex, I have you on because you're a tremendous follow on Twitter. You're hilarious, but I think this is kind of like an intervention for you. And here's why. I have a little problem, Alex.
I might need one, by the way.
Okay, here it is. I have been around friends who are recently married, and they don't talk about their spouses, their wives, and they don't post pictures the way you talk and post pictures about your truck. So,
Man, look at
first,
that.
do you have a name for your truck here?
Well, it's funny. We were up in Idlewild a few days ago, which is like 2 hours from us. It's in the woods, and we're staying in this cabin. And my wife said, it looks like Prowl. Prowl, which is funny because I voiced the character Prowl in the Transformers universe video game online, and I was like, that sounds good.
So that's what you're naming it.
I did well. I got the decals, and they're across the top of the truck now, up in the top windshield. It says Prowl in red. It's pretty sweet.
So, I mean, listen. The pictures you post of your truck, it's like I posted of my bike when I go riding. Speaking of which, you grew up in New Jersey, correct?
I did. Yeah.
Where'd you grow up in New Jersey?
I grew up in Manasquan, Wall Township area, which is, the beach, like Asbury Park, Deal, Point Pleasant, Belmar, all those
Okay.
areas.
So I ride my bike before I work out every morning. So I'm riding my bike today. Here's a picture along the beach here in Florida. Right? So maybe you could identify with this story. So as I'm taking this selfie right here, this woman walks by, drinking a Pabst Blue Ribbon out of the can at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Whoa.
Smoking a cigarette.
My kind of lady.
Aquanet hairspray. Alex, at what point should I have gotten on one knee because she smelled like the Jersey Shore?
Man, you missed your chance. I mean, that was
talk
it
about
right
love
there,
at first sight, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that not Jersey Shore? Aquanet hairspray, Pabst Blue Ribbon out of a can, and smoking a cigarette.
In the morning.
Yeah, 10 o'clock in the morning.
She's dirty, and I dig it.
All right, let's move on, Alex. Let's put some of your favorite background here. We'll get the Miami Dolphins. But before we talk about the Miami Dolphins.
That should be our national flag right there. Go ahead.
Okay. How does an actor like yourself, like your wife, Mo Collins, stay busy when there's no auditions? Broadway is closed during this pandemic.
Well, it's interesting. I was supposed to start rehearsal for a play last month, and we were going to, open in beginning of September, and that, of course, went away. Right now, our focus is getting out. So we were just, 2 weeks ago, we drove up to the Utah-Arizona border, and we went to through Zion, and then we basically stayed in Lake Powell, which if you've never been to Lake Powell, you got to go. It's absolutely amazing there. I mean, breathtaking. And we did some off-roading with the Jeep and did some trails and stuff. And we stayed there for like 4 or 5 days. And it gets you out of, it's social distancing at its finest. And it gets you out of the Los Angeles area where everyone's just kind of like, masked and hunkered down. And so we did that. And then, last week we drove up to the mountains again, and we're just kind of going back to nature. And I'm learning stuff about myself. We both are, where it's, I feel more comfortable in a, right now anyway, in a woodsy, deserty environment where
like
you
a caveman.
Yeah,
exactly.
And the fun thing is, I got this, I got the Gladiator, the Jeep Gladiator about 6 weeks ago, and I've been doing like mods myself, like in my driveway, my drills and stuff, and just doing stuff to it, adding bigger tires, and this thing alone is letting us get out and go places we couldn't go and say her Fiat. You know what I mean?
Right. It's funny, because my niece went to Atlantic City for her birthday with her boyfriend, and she called and she said, we're never getting out of this pandemic, because she was staying at a beautiful hotel. People enter the elevator with no mask, barefoot, like walking around. She says COVID-19 is never going away. You were on vacation and you posted on social media. You basically said, these people are idiots. No one's social distancing. No one's wearing a mask.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I mean, I won't even so yesterday I went to 7-Eleven, right? And so I have my mask ready, and I get out of my truck and I'm walking in, I see people in there not wearing masks. So I just literally sat in my truck until they left, because I don't know, man. My sister works at a casino in Pennsylvania, and I feel bad for people. Yeah, look, if people are going to keep going about business as usual and not, paying attention to what the CDC is saying, we're screwed. We're screwed. But I do feel bad for people who are nervous to go to work. We have teachers going to, go teach school, and kids are going to fill the hallways, and you can't make them wear masks. And it's like, I feel bad for these people who, if their business opens and they are asked to come back to their job, if they don't go, they don't get unemployment benefits. They don't get any of that because they have a job they can go to. And it's kind of ridiculous. It's like we're in a weird place right now, man. Just a strange place.
There are two sides to this argument, right? You just bring it up. I have people who say, listen, the guy at Trader Joe's can't opt out. He's got to go to work. Okay. Yeah. The guy who's working at Walmart, Best Buy, guy who's a landscaper, whatever, they can't opt out of their jobs. So how do you feel about NFL players just saying, listen, I'm not risking my life. I'm not risking my wife, my kids. How do you feel about that? Because they have, if you don't play this year, you're still getting $150,000.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say this, like, I don't blame them. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's like, I don't blame them for not wanting to do it. I mean, look, this virus affects everyone differently. Like, some person can get it and not even feel it. Nothing, no fever, no, whatever, breathing problems, and they just go about their day. But some people get it, and even young people, children. We just had a 7-year-old die in Georgia the other day from the coronavirus. It's like, some people get it and it's lights out. So I don't blame them, man. I mean, what's more important? Your family, your children, your life, or football? I mean, it's perspective, right? I mean, it's perspective.
Well, I said this. I said, we went without sports for 4 months. Now, I wrote an article on Nuts and Bolts Sports, and I said that NFL, look at what the NBA is doing. You can't do the bubble, so why not just delay until Halloween? This way we know more about the virus. They're making progress in Germany and Switzerland with steroids that help you fight it. Mm-hmm. So why don't we just delay a little bit? So we're up to, I think, 70 players who have opted out. 2 Miami wide receivers opted out this week. So my question is, why doesn't the NFL just say, hey, we're going to wait another month. We're going to wait 2 months before we start the season? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
it's always about the money, man. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, the NFL, like, how much money does that make a year? You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's like, if they postpone the season until, Halloween or Thanksgiving, and they start then, well, they've lost billions. I don't know. I mean, so it all comes down to money, right? I mean, let's be honest. It's not, I mean, that's what it is, especially for these huge corporations, the NFL. Like, come on. I mean, so it's gross.
No, it is. And listen, I used to do a political show and sports show, but I stopped it because I want to unite people. I don't want to be divisive. Yeah. But if you look at most of these owners, they support the man in the White House.
Yeah, and that's the other issue. I mean, I don't know who your fans are and who watches this stuff, but we all have our own opinions, and I don't support the person in the White House.
Alex. First of all, my fans agree with you. You're being way too nice right now. Yeah. I know you're trying to hold back, but I agree. But what I'm saying is that they just—
Well, I can't talk about it without cursing, so I gotta kind of—
Listen, I've done about 300 radio shows, podcasts, and a bunch of YouTube shows. I've never cursed, and people who know me, I mean, it's amazing. I should win an award for that. I
can't help it, man. Sometimes it just,
All right.
But, I mean, do you think Yosemites are from Thailand? I mean, I tweeted that the other day. Do you think Yosemites are from Thailand?
Oh, this is why, hell. People, this is why you have to follow Alex on Twitter. Okay, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins football, something positive. Yes. Dan Marino, we posted that thing. You could watch it over and over again. He was the Dolphins quarterback from 1983 to 99, 9-time Super Bowl winner. Some say the greatest quarterback to never win a Super Bowl. But over the last 20 years since he's retired, you're gonna be upset. Jay Fuller, Gus Frerotte, Trent Greed, Chad Pennington actually wasn't bad.
He was accurate.
He wasn't bad. Ryan Tannehill, Jay Cutler was an absolute disaster. It was a disaster in Chicago, disaster in Denver. Ryan Fitzpatrick, who I know you like. But now we have Tua. Tua from Alabama, 5th pick. What are your thoughts on him? What are you hearing? I know you're in the Dolphins chat room and all that stuff.
Okay, so here's my thoughts, and even before we took him, right? So, well, first of all, I want to go back. You never mentioned the best quarterback to ever play football for the Miami Dolphins, and that was Dante Culpepper.
Dante Culpepper, that is right.
He was
Minnesota. Yes. Okay, I didn't even put him on my list.
I know you didn't, and probably right to do that. So, So Tua, phenomenal athlete, right? Phenomenal athlete. Has had some injuries. Then he had a hip, and that changed my thought process on him. And I think it did for a lot of people. But
Right.
I mean, that's a huge injury. That's huge. Didn't he get airlifted out? Or didn't he?
Yeah, no, it was a terrible injury, and part of the problem was people, Nick Saban played him when he shouldn't have played him. He shouldn't have played him. He should have kept him on the sideline. And Tua, I said this last week. When it comes to college football right now, and this is forget about getting injured. If I'm Trevor Lawrence, who's the number one quarterback rated on the board for Clemson. He already won a national championship. What's the point of him playing this year? There is no point. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft. So Tua and his family should have said, "Hey, Nick, I'm not ready to play."
Yeah. Yeah. And, I don't see, on top of that, I don't see him playing this year for the Dolphins. I mean, why would you? This season coming up, however long it lasts, and who knows who gets sick and they have to maybe shut it down. But it's like, I don't see a reason to play him. Give him another year to heal, to get his stuff back. I mean, you throw him in there now. First of all, that was in college. You get to the NFL, it's faster, it's bigger, it's stronger, and you take another hit. I mean, in a season this season's kind of, I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen.
No, listen, it reminds me of a situation where, what's the end game here, right? What's the end game? The end game is we're going to eventually, when we get this guy out of the White House, we're going to beat this virus. Okay. Yeah. So the end game here is you want Tua healthy for 7 to 10 years. You want him as your franchise quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick has already said, I really like him. I respect him, but I'm going to try to beat him. And Ryan Fitzpatrick last year, say whatever you want. We talked about this. Man. He was the leader of that team. So what is the upside to play Tua this year? There is none.
There is none. And I gotta say, man, I mean, I think Fitzpatrick, I mean, did I pay much attention to him when he wasn't a Dolphin? No, but I mean, I watched some games and I saw him play here and there. I didn't pay much, I didn't follow him. But to see him come in last year, especially with a first-time head coach who I think is phenomenal, to come in at his age and just put it out there and just have fun. It looked like he was having fun most of the time. I respect him, man. I think Fitzpatrick is great, and I blame him for the reason.
Not just that, like when you're having fun and you're with a losing team, that sets the tone. They said that he was the first one in, the last one to leave. No matter win or lose, he had the same approach. And for a young team to have a veteran presence like that, that's super important.
Oh, it's so important, man. And you saw it last season, but we won 5 games, right? I think, 5 games.
Yeah.
But I mean, no one thought we were going to win any. And you had these kids out there, these young guys, giving it all, just doing it,
Especially since they traded everyone in the first few weeks of the season. They traded Minkah Fitzpatrick. The previous season, they traded Jarvis Landry, who's a very good wide receiver. They cleaned house.
To both of them. Bye. See you.
Yeah.
See you.
They didn't want them. Okay, so Bill Parcells once said, "You are what your record is." But you just talked about Miami Dolphin coach Brian Flores, 39 years old, from our neck of the woods, Brooklyn. I wonder if he married someone who was wearing Aquanet hairspray. I'm still not getting over the woman on the beach, which I blew it.
Pabst Blue Ribbon at 10 a.m.
Pabst Blue Ribbon in a can, not even a bottle. Okay, he was 5-11 last year. They never quit, despite, like I said, losing Minkah Fitzpatrick. What do you like about this guy?
Well, he's no bullshit. I mean, he just you see him on the sidelines and he's just focused. He looks kind of angry, but not angry. He just looks focused, and he looks like his wheels are spinning. And he's coming up with ways to win with the players he has. And you listen to him talk at the conferences, and he's just right there, man. And I think maybe being with Belichick for so long, coming from New England, and he just learned how to do it right. And I really, really hope that he's here for the long run, and not just some kind of like 2-season ad, he's gone, but he's really, man, he's good.
So Alex, we just have something new that we have to add. Whenever time I bring up Rex Ryan, because I'm still obsessed with him, people have to drink. Every time someone uses a bad cliche, like at the end of the day, and now we can order the Alex Scooby. When someone curses, you got to drink a shot. So, Alex, I said You know, I said no cursing, right? You know, I said that during the opening.
I did, but that one I had to right there because that made a point. You know what I
Yes,
mean? I'm not
yes.
slinging around F-bombs right now because I'm not. But that was poignant.
No, it's definitely worth, and people are happy because they get to drink now. So, Alex, it's for 19 years. 19
Oh
years.
God.
AFC East fans went into the season thinking, okay, if we can make the wild card, I'll be happy. Since
Yeah.
2001, the Patriots have won 17 division titles. They
Yeah.
are
I don't
without
know. I
Tom
don't know.
Brady. They are without 8 starters. Alex, this got to be the year for the Dolphins, right?
I'm hoping so. I mean, it's a pandemic, so why not? Why not do it in a season that's kind of messed up anyway, right? I mean, yeah, look, the Patriots, they're not the Patriots, but they, Belichick. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they win the Super Bowl again. I mean, you know what I mean?
You can't count them out, right? Like, no
No,
matter
you
what,
can't.
you can't count them out.
No, but we will dominate. The Dolphins, the Bills look pretty good too.
Bills
Jeff,
look very good.
Adam Gase is,
It's-
but
no.
the Dolphins will be. I don't know when. Next couple of years will be the dominant in the
Yeah,
AFC.
no, I agree with you. But here's what I'm worried about. People are saying that Bill Belichick is too competitive. That I'm not going to say that they're going to tank, but I'm
Yeah.
going to say they lost 8 players already. Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't really sign, and they signed Cam Newton, but they didn't go out after wide receivers, which one of the reasons why Tom Brady left, right?
Yeah.
He went to Tampa Bay that's stacked with offensive talent.
Yeah.
But I'm saying Bill Belichick, this is the type of team that he loves. Young guys, no one making big money, and you just develop them. They go 5-11. They draft Trevor Lawrence. They go after free agents. People say Bill Belichick won't do it, but Bill Belichick has always played chess. He'll give up something for the long term, right?
Yeah, he
So
will.
are you concerned that Bill Belichick may be like, hey, you know what? Let's just develop talent and let's get a quarterback next year?
Well, it's kind of like what we just did, right? I mean, we did it. I mean, we don't have Bill Belichick, but I'm not concerned about the Patriots. I'm just not. And I really never, after watching them win so much, so long, so much, you just you went, as a Dolphins fan, you're like, hey, as long as we beat them once a season, I'm good with it, right? Because I knew we didn't have the talent to go very far. Am I concerned with what the Patriots are doing? No, I'm concerned with what the Dolphins are doing. And also, I'm concerned for that number 12 on that Tampa Bay Buccaneers right there, because if their offensive line ain't good, he's done.
Alex, look, this isn't a family show. People actually like the fact that you curse. So big round of applause to you for that. This is not a family show, they're saying. So, all right, Alex. So what is your biggest concern? Okay, let's say I agree with you. Let's say they don't play Tua. Okay. Yeah. But again, the Patriots are going to be down. The Jets lost the Jets lost Jamal Adams. They traded their safety to Seattle. Their number 1 linebacker is opting out. So it's the Bills and the Dolphins division to win. Am I wrong for saying that?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Again, it's like, the Bills, they looked good last year, man. I mean, they look like
very good.
And so for the Dolphins to come in and sweep, the rest of the East, I mean, could they do it?
The Dolphins always play the Patriots well, though. They beat them last year.
Well, we beat it. If you look at our record, I mean, it's pretty damn good against the Patriots. And we've always beat them. When we do beat them, we beat them brilliantly.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Like last-minute play, trickery.
Man,
they had Rob Gronkowski playing safety, couldn't tackle the guy.
Ball, man. That was great.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Alex. So give us your record for each team in the division: the Buffalo Bills, the Jets, the Patriots, and the Dolphins.
Okay. So the Buffalo Bills, I'll go 10-6.
Okay, fair.
The Jets, I'm going to go 0-16.
Be gentle, Alex.
0-16. I'm going to go Patriots. I'm going to go 1-15, and I'm going to go Dolphins 40-0.
So now, if Ryan Fitzpatrick,
you heard that here first, 40-0, man.
40-0. If Ryan Fitzpatrick leads this team to the playoffs, right? And this is what I would do. I would start Ryan Fitzpatrick, and about 10 to 15 plays per game, I would play Tua, bring him along slowly. Do you agree with that philosophy?
I actually do. I think that's kind of cool, man. I actually do. Yeah, put him out there for a minute. You
Yeah,
know, let him
listen,
get his feet
we've
wet.
seen this. We saw this with Patrick Mahomes. He'd
Mhm,
come in for a few plays. They do this with Hill in New Orleans. Inside
mhm.
the red zone, they take Drew Brees out. He's a
Yeah.
runner. He's a thrower. So that they use that. So I would start Ryan Fitzpatrick from day one. Say Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starter,
Mhm.
and you just slowly but surely put in Tua, who eventually is going to be the starter.
You know what? I love that idea. I love that idea. And I'm kind of wondering why we still have what's his Dusty McKnuckles. What's his name? The guy that we brought in from Arizona. What's his name? I can't even think of his name. Josh.
Um,
What was it? The-
the quarterback. Yeah,
yeah.
Josh. What the hell's his name? How sad is this?
It's like
He was
number
the
one pick.
number.
Like what is
He was the top pick
yeah.
from Arizona,
Yeah.
and then the Dolphins traded him, and he didn't even get anyone. He didn't
No.
even play.
No, it's just ridiculous. I wonder why he's still there. But
Josh
I like
Rosen. Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen. That's his name.
Yes.
I like the idea of that. I like the starting Fitzpatrick and bringing Tua in here and there, maybe to run some plays. I think that's a great idea, man.
We're talking with Alex Scooby, actor. I call him a comedian, or doesn't consider himself a comedian. Alex, talk about some of your YouTube videos that you do with your wife, Mo Collins, and her character that people go crazy for.
Well, I'll
It's
tell
like,
you.
cool, right?
So we haven't done one in a while, but she played a character on Mad TV called Lorraine, right? And it was a huge success. And right when the pandemic kind of broke, she had an idea to kind of bring it back, I guess, a little bit, just in a smaller kind of thing on YouTube. So we created a YouTube channel. It's called Lorraine, and we did like 5 episodes of it. We kind of, she would come up with the scenarios, and I'd film it, and we'd both act in it. She played Lorraine, and I played homeowner Alex. And they're fun. They were fun to do. And then, we started going out more, like getting out into nature more, and we kind of went away from it. But we had a lot of views and a lot of followers in a real quick pace.
It's hilarious, Alex, because as I got to know you through social media,
Yeah.
and people love her character, but
yeah.
it's so impressive because when I watched you on King of Queens, you
Yeah.
played this like nerdy, awkward. That's
Yeah.
totally not you. When I
No.
watch you be the straight man in
Yeah.
these scenes with your wife, it's not who you are.
No.
So props to your acting ability
Thank
for
you.
making me believe you're someone that you're totally not.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Are you guys going to be doing more of them? Because people were emailing me saying, please do more.
I know, and we've gotten a ton of emails, and we might. I don't know. It's kind of up to her. It's up to me. We just haven't felt it because we've been just getting out,
Right.
and trying to live
For your
and breathe.
sanity.
Yeah, for our sanity. So yeah, maybe. But I don't know.
right.
Maybe. I don't know.
They're hilarious.
Thank
People love the character. Alex,
Yeah.
how can we follow you on social media? Again, you were talking about you were supposed to be doing a play. What's happening with that?
That is on the back burner now. The producer and writer we're talking to Howie Score. He's a phenomenal playwright. I've done 2 of his plays already. That's on the back burner until people will go sit in a packed theater. I mean, I don't know. We don't know. So that's just on the back burner.
I mean, Alex, do you think, like, for example, when will you feel comfortable going to a movie?
Well, look, I'm a kind of loner anyway. Like I'm like I come out of my shell when I want to. But for the most part, I'm kind of quiet, and I like to be out and not around a lot of people.
Caveman.
Yeah, caveman. So will I go back to it? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe never. I have no idea. But I can't imagine people coming to see a play, and sitting in a 100-seat, 200-seat, 300-seat theater packed in on top of each other, and one person coughs and everyone's like, holy hell.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No. Listen, I said in the opening of my show, I like 5 people in the world. So this quarantine, I don't have to socialize that much. That's the only positive. And 2 of the people I like are my parents. So there's really not a lot of people. As an actor, again, what type of stress are you? Because and that's why I brought up the YouTube show, because it's a way. I used to do a podcast, and I said during this quarantine, I'm only going to do YouTube shows from now on, because people need to see things. They need distractions. So are you trying to evolve and figure out other things to do as an actor who gets paid when you perform, like comedians, like singers? I know that Dave Matthews was just talking about, they're losing a ton of money because they're on the road 300 days a year. So what's the plan there?
Well, I mean, we have friends in the music business, and they've canceled tours and are losing money. I mean, right now, I mean, my wife's on a show called Fear the Walking Dead, and she plays Sarah on there, and they haven't filmed in 6 months, and they are trying to get back. They shoot in Texas, which is not a good place right now for the virus.
Texas and Florida are disaster.
They're trying to get them back at the beginning of September. That would mean flying out, putting them up at a hotel or, whatever, and all that stuff. And we're kind of nervous about that. So, I mean, right now, to release my artistic side of my brain, I find that, in the beginning of this pandemic, I was more stressed about it. And now that time has gone on, I'm feeling more kind of settled in just doing things that feel good, like hanging out with my wife and eating good food and fixing up my Jeep and tequila.
Right. Yeah. No, listen, it's amazing. I was at Trader Joe's the other day, yesterday, and I got so sad because everyone's wearing a mask. Everyone's wearing a visor. I have my gloves, and it's like, this is the new normal. Like just think about this. Again, this is not I don't want to talk politics, but in 3 years, look at what we've become. Look at what we've become under the failed leadership, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. It's just a nightmare. I mean, there's a few things here that really shake my brain and put me into like a depressed mode, is our current administration.
No, 100%.
You have the virus. Okay. Then you have, there's still racism and discrimination going on in this country. And those three things, and maybe they're all have to do with one thing, which is this administration, right? Maybe they all have to do with that. I mean, Trump has, and again, I didn't really want to get into this. I will say this, though. Maybe he's brought out and made these racist and white supremacist scumbags feel a little empowered, feel a little entitled to say all this bullshit. But you know what? They're a dying breed. This is, I call this the old white man's last stand.
Last stand. Exactly. Exactly.
So.
And listen, sometimes they say all the time, in order to see the sunshine, you got to put up with the rain. So maybe this is the last attempt of neo-Nazis, white supremacists making a comeback. They lost in World War II. They lost in the Civil War. They will lose again. Alex, we'll end with this. Okay. Give us, what brings you the most pleasure? Okay, we have this, we have this, or we have this.
Oh, see, right there.
It's the Jeep, isn't it? It's the Jeep, right? It's the Jeep.
It's right there.
It's it.
It's sitting right outside my window, and I keep looking at it to make sure it's still there.
How many times do you clean it per week?
Okay, so here's the thing. I like to get it dirty. I like the more dirt on it. You know what I mean?
Alex, that's a recurring theme. When I talked about the woman, you said she's dirty and nasty. That's a recurring theme. You like the dirt. You like the dirt.
Well, I'm Dirty Jersey, man.
That's it. Alex, how can we follow you on social media?
Okay,
this was so much fun, really. And what's the significance of the hat? People are asking.
Okay, so Scooby 222, right? I started selling these. Scooby's my last name. 222 is a number combination that's been in my life forever and ever and ever. There's dates 222. Just and it means power and strength and stuff like that. So I thought this looked cool, so I made a couple and I started selling them on my website, and they were selling. Like, people love these hats. And then I had to stop selling them because my website had a problem. So I'm not selling them right now. But this is like, this is kind of like
it's a cool hat.
Me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like it.
Thank you. Okay. So Instagram, I am at Alex Scooby Official. And on Twitter, I am at Alex_Scooby. Those are my
at Alex_.
I'm not on Facebook. I don't do the Facebook thing.
Alex, we love having you on to talk about life, to talk about Miami Dolphins.
I love
that's your passion, and I really appreciate you. So we'll have you on once preseason goes on and things start to take form. We'll have you on again.
I love it, man. I love it.
And please, more YouTube videos.
I will try. We'll try, man. Hey, look. Hey, it was great talking to you, man.
Always a pleasure, Alex. Thank you so much for getting up early. Really
Yeah, man.
appreciate it.
All right, man. You have a good day.
Take care.
All right,
Alex Scooby, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give Alex a huge round of applause. He's how about he cursed? I thought that would be Rico. I thought Rico would be the first person to curse. So let's bring on Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Rico, how are you doing? Whoa! What is happening? Okay, walk me through this background, Rico. I was not prepared for this.
I'm making my background the character.
Batman.
The backlight of the sun.
Now,
That's
why
right.
4 full Monte shows?
Because I printed up. I typed in 2 and it printed up 4. So that's how I got to 4. You know, when I grow up, I want to be like Alex with that sexy voice and drinking tequila. Yeah, I'm Alex.
You know what's so funny?
Like,
No, you know what's so funny? Like if you watch him on The King of Queens, which King of Queens is one of my favorite comedies.
Great show.
He plays such like a nerdy, like fidgety, like it's totally not who he is.
Well, hence that's why he gets paid to be an actor. He's acting that way.
And the YouTube videos with his wife Mo Collins is phenomenal. So Rico, okay, first I want to say a few things, okay? Because you know how back in the day when we were doing podcasts, we would have our good friend John from Pittsburgh email, and he would constantly attack you 24/7. So here's what John from Pittsburgh emailed me. Monte, I love the show. I work on Sundays in the summer so I can have off during football season. How can Rico and Levi say that you shouldn't take a kicker in fantasy football? 70% of fantasy football games are decided by 7 points or less. Now, I looked this up, okay, to see if he was just talking trash. And what I got is like 60%. I got like 65%. So he's not wrong. I tried to look this up, but he said Josh Lambo of Jacksonville and Justin Tucker have won me numerous games. So for Rico to say you can't draft a kicker in fantasy football and just leave it for luck is a are you ready for this? Is a dereliction of duty.
Dereliction. See, he misunderstood because I understand as a rookie fantasy player that he is. What we were talking about was in the draft, you do not pick up a kicker and then you let Sunday play out because one of the guys that you pick up late in the draft may become a big player. And then you drop one of your other players. I didn't say don't start a kicker.
You said don't draft a kicker.
You don't have to draft a kicker. A kicker is on the wire. You can always find a kicker on the waiver wire.
Okay,
so, like,
let me stop. Hold on. So let's say 1 week I have Justin Tucker of Baltimore, who's been the best field goal kicker in the league, over 50 yards. He always his accuracy from 50 yards. So let's say 1 week Justin Tucker gets 12 points, and your kicker that you just pick off the wire, they score 21 points. He gets 3 points. That's a 9-point differential. Kickers are important. Why are you minimizing that?
Well, I minimize it because kickers and defense, we usually pick up. Me and Levi, we pick up at the end because most of the time there are better players available before somebody like us gets to the kicker. So by the time we get to the drafting the kicker, all the good kickers are gone, and the difference between who is left. What I'm saying is to give up a good wide receiver or a good running back that is still sitting there. When I say good, I'm talking about a handcuff, which means it's the backup to your starter. They're more important than a kicker who Justin Tucker sometimes, you know what? I wouldn't touch Justin Tucker purely because they score touchdowns. So you're going to put so much draft stock in a guy who's going to kick 5 extra points a game because of 5 touchdowns. That's only 5 points. To where you get a player who's on a worse team who's kicking field goals because his team could just barely get past the 50. But when I say not picking up a kicker in the draft, what we're saying is that you pick up from the waiver wire a player, one of the kickers that are playing on Monday night. And it's a complicated numbers game. Like on the first week of the year, there's 2 Monday night football games. So you have 4 available kickers. On Sunday, one of your late draft picks that you got, instead of a kicker, becomes a great player. You notice that all of a sudden this team is featuring him where he wasn't really looked at like that. So you keep him and you drop one of your other players who looks like they're going to be a dud. And I know that's hard to say on week one, but then you pick up a kicker for Monday night off the waiver wire. So it's complicated if you don't know what I'm saying in fantasy football. Exactly. That's the look most people are giving right now.
Rico, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I follow fantasy football almost as much as you do. But Rico, what's the best thing, if you could guess, about the background that I just put up? What's the best thing about it? Take a guess what I'm thinking about.
The best thing is that Pittsburgh's on top and bottom?
No. The best thing is you don't see the New York Jets helmet there.
I love how you have teams multiple times, but yet you don't have the Jets or the Giants.
So, Rico, here are some comments.
Yes.
How about this one?
Yes, I've been allocated another room. Matter of fact, my wife said, she goes, you know what? I like that spot better because you get outdoor sun. You get better light there, which the reflection, if you see. Anyway, I put a lot more time into my background than I should, but luckily I got a lot of.
Wait! You put a lot of time in that background?
Are you kidding me? You know the setup I have to do, the lighting, the fixing.
Rico, look at all this.
I know.
That's a lot of setup. That's ordering from Amazon every week for 3 weeks because I couldn't afford it all. I had to bits and pieces. Why do you think we waited so long to get the show? I couldn't afford to buy all these things.
It's funny because people might think you're joking, but we've had multiple conversations about your background many times. Pictures, just random pictures in the middle of the day. What do you think about this background? And I'd give them notes. I used to give them background notes, which is hilarious.
Look. How about my brother Pete? My brother Pete is my lighting director. Look at this. You need Pete, Rico. Listen, hire him on retainer.
I should, you know what? I should have him come over. Oh yeah, that's true. We have that whole thing going on still. I've locked in my house so long, I forget what's happening in the outside world. We're just locked in. I go nowhere. I do nothing.
Rico, my friend Dave just texted me. What's up with the new hairstyle this week? Did you get a haircut?
I actually got a haircut yesterday. We have my sister. She cut my hair yesterday with a friend observing and watching.
Did she use a bowl?
You think so? What are you talking about? I think this is one of the best haircuts I've gotten.
That says a lot about you and your hairstyle.
Yeah, best haircut of 2020, without a doubt. Clearly.
That's the best haircut you've gotten? Is that what you just said?
Well, it's 2020. Where have you been getting haircuts?
Rico, have you seen my head? I shave my head. I shave it with a buzzer. What do you mean, where am I getting it? Sometimes I think Rico is not on the show. Like he's here, but he's not here. He just said to me, where do you get your haircuts? Like, do you not know me? I've been shaving my head for 3 years.
Somebody asked me how long we've been friends last week, and I said, you know what? I don't know. It's been so long. I said, I definitely know at least 15 years minimum, and maybe more, before I moved to LA, which was 13 years ago. So,
and yet you still talk to me, Rico.
You know what?
It says a lot about you.
Hey, we're seasonal friends. We're friends during football season, and then throughout the year, we just check in to make sure that we're still alive.
Rico, I'm going to post this picture of my lovely parents. Right? Here's what I said, and maybe I said this in the opening. When my parents go out, we haven't been out in a long time because we're quarantining here. Florida's a disaster. But when my parents go out, they have like this thing that I don't understand. They like people. They want to, not only do they like people, they want to talk and listen to people. And this is me, Rico. I know you missed the beginning of the show because you don't support it. You support the show. No, time out. You support the show from 5 minutes you're about to go on until you go on. But when I go out, Rico, this is me. I wear my earbuds everywhere. I don't want to talk to people. My parents love people. How is that possible in this day and age?
You know what? I'm like your parents. I love people. I want to talk to people. If I'm eavesdropping on somebody and I feel like I need to say something, I will step in and be like, "Well, didn't mean to eavesdrop, but."
Rico, you want to talk to people because your wife has tuned you out.
You know what? Can you blame her? Can you blame her for tuning me out?
How old is your son?
2. He just turned 2 on the 26th.
How long before he starts to tune you out?
He's already tuned me out. He
No,
doesn't
come
listen to
on.
me.
No. He
Nobody,
still thinks,
nobody, not even the dog, not even the old rickety dog listens to me. I have no power or say in my household. And if somebody
Rico,
would have told me, they were like, wait till you get married and have kids and a dog, it's going to be great. I didn't know I'd be ignored.
Rico, there's no your son still thinks of you as his idol. He's not going to start ignoring you till he's like 10.
Oh, no. Well, if that's the case, then my son is way ahead of the curve. He already ignores me. No, he adores me. He thinks I'm the best father in the world
Well, because he
he
doesn't
already
know
has
better.
one,
He
so
doesn't know better. He doesn't know any
he
better.
doesn't know about it. He's
No.
two.
All right, Rico, let's talk about where you make your money, and that's the NFL. So everything that I'm reading, everything that I'm seeing is telling me that Philip Rivers is going to be the best quarterback in the AFC South for the for the Indianapolis Colts. I don't believe in Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. Gardner Minshew looks like the guy from Dodgeball. He doesn't even look like a quarterback. And Houston traded away DeAndre Hopkins. Their offensive line is not going to be good. They don't even have a general manager, Houston. They're the only team in the NFL that does it by committee. The Colts dominate this division. What say you?
I think the word dominates a strong word. I think that what I like about this Frank Reich and Philip Rivers combination is that Philip Rivers has never really been with a coach who is super quarterback savvy. And Philip Rivers, imagine being a quarterback and always being smarter than your coach and offensive coordinator. And so I think it's good that he's with somebody who's going to like tune him in with 20 years under his belt, and say, hey, I know you've been here for 20 years. This is the way we do it. This is what an offensive line looks like. You're not going to have to always improvise every other play. So I think he's going to be and I don't like Philip Rivers I don't like him purely because he lost me 2 fantasy leagues about 6-7 years ago. So I still hate him for that. But I believe that I think they're going to have a really good year this year. They're going to, he's going to play really well back there. And I agree with you. I think that they're going to win that division.
Rico, did you just say you hate a quarterback because he lost you fantasy football 7 years? My brother Pete is still complaining that he didn't get producer credits for an off-Broadway play in 2000. He hasn't let it go. It's been 7 years and you still hate Philip Rivers?
Oh, matter of fact, he taught me a lesson. Pay attention. Don't go with your heart. Go with what's right. And I went with my heart with him because I was like, he's a good guy. At the time, now he has 9 kids. I was like, he's father of 4. This guy's got it. And he didn't have it. He lost me playoff games. You could be the best quarterback in the league and lose in week 16, and you'll be hated for 7 years minimum.
Rico, so all this prison talk you just said. I posted this again. I normally don't post things more than once, but is Philip Rivers on your list? Look what that says.
Yes, Philip Rivers would be probably right there, number 4. I would say Philip Rivers.
Okay, give us your top 5 of people on your list that you despise.
Oh, I'm not going to go into that.
No, you are. You are.
I'm not. I always say this about it. Cutting out fantasy football is that I have too many people that I love that I never see or I have time to think of. Never mind people I hate. So people I hate or I want off the planet don't even cross my mind. So
that is
I don't
a
even
100% lie right there.
No, seriously, I don't really obsess about that stuff. I obsess about why I didn't call that person, or maybe saying I talked to Monte 3 times this week. Maybe I could have called my dad one of those 3.
Your dad is probably way more entertaining than me. My friend Dave, I was talking about my parents early on, how when we used to go out, they like to socialize and they like to, talk to other people. And my friend said, why are they always drinking? And then he texted me and he said, Monte, the reason why they like to socialize so much is because you're so boring. They don't want to talk to me.
Your parents are highly entertaining people. I could sit and talk to your father forever. And the best part is we might not even talk about sports once, which makes it even more entertaining.
Yes, but Rico, here's the point. I understand. I am the most boring human being on the planet. Listen how boring I am. I have insomnia. When I can't sleep, I talk to myself because it'll put me to sleep. People should pay me money when they can't sleep because you're going to call me and I'm going to talk to you about LeBron James in 2013. I'm going to talk to you about Chad Pennington stats, or I'm going to talk about when I used to have a restaurant, how good my chicken franchise was.
My favorite.
Go ahead.
My favorite moment of you is when you were at the Comedy Store and the place was packed and you crushed it. And you crushed it. And who was the comedian who came up to you afterwards? I can't remember who he was, but he was a big comedian. And he said, "You did great." And you looked him right in the face. You're like, "Yeah, I could have did better." And you walked away from him. Do you
Rico,
remember?
I think it might have been. Was it Dane Cook? Was it him?
It was it was somebody that big. It was somebody huge, and he came up to congratulate you, and you totally blew him off.
I don't remember that. What did I
You were
remember?
like, I could have did better, and you crushed it. Like you had the whole. I mean, the place was packed, and you owned everybody in that place. And I was sitting there. I remember I was like, "He's gonna be famous. This is it. This is where it's gonna happen." And then, like 5 months later, you moved back to Jersey. Don't know why.
So Rico, you're talking about this right here.
Yeah, that's the night. The Laugh Factory. Yep.
Thank you, Rico, bringing up my failures, making me depressed.
Failure. It was like one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Well, thank you, Rico. I appreciate that. But let's talk about you and what you're good at. I got into some debates this week. Okay, so here goes. People want to talk about this. You okay, Rico? Do you need to stretch?
Yeah.
Did you stretch before the show? Is sitting down? So okay. So before you came on this show, it's 9 o'clock LA time. So you slept what, 7-8 hours?
Yeah, about there. I have a kid.
Okay.
He hasn't been feeling good, so he wakes up. So nothing's steady, straight. So I don't.
Okay, so would you say about 7 hours?
Yeah, I wish, but let's go ahead.
So let's just say the 7 hours of inactivity was too strenuous for you. That when you got out of the bed and you sat in that chair, you have to stretch because you're sore from sleeping. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what your body has become?
Well, if you sleep on one side so long, you wake up. Like that's when I used to not have a job or anything, and I would sleep on one side. Or a child. It hurts so much. Then you sleep on the other side, and then you have to get up, and both sides just hurt. You have no choice because you're physically in pain, and you have to wake up.
Rico, I've been riding my bike about 70 to 100 miles a week, and someone said you used to run all the time, and now they're saying, what are you riding from? What are you trying to escape? Is it the lack of love? Is it the lack of self-confidence? What are you riding from? What are you running away from?
You ride just to post that you're riding. That's my belief. I know you ride every day because you post a picture of it. At least, look, there's nothing but head. I see glasses and head.
Well, Rico, that's just my body. I was born 11 pounds, 9 pounds was head. I'm a human Pez dispenser.
No wonder they drugged your mom up and she's still happy since. No wonder she had 65 kids.
All right, Rico. So I want to talk about this because this is very important for fantasy football fans. It's very important to me what you think. I know what your answer is going to be, and I'm going to disagree with you. So if you're taking, right, here we go, Tom Brady. Okay. Who has more touchdown passes? Who has more yards this season? Tom Brady or Drew Brees?
I talked about this with Levi, and he's
your consigliere, correct?
Yes, he's my. We talk about everything that I'm going to talk. I talk about on the show. We kind of go over. We do a quick.
And does he just yell at you?
Well, some things he refuses to answer. This is one of them. He's like, I refuse to answer that question. I said, why? He's like, it's speculation. I said, we're in fantasy football. It's all speculation. That's what I said to him. But I guess he was having a day, so I didn't want to get on him about it. But I think the problem here I'd say Drew Brees, purely because he already owns that team and everybody listens to him. Tom Brady's coming into a system that's not his. He's the system he's coming into is, I don't know how well these guys are going to receive being yelled at on the field by a quarterback. It's one thing when you're playing when you're on the Patriots and you're getting yelled at by Tom Brady on the field about a missed route or, like as he's walking off, you see him yelling at his wide receivers. It's a very well-known thing that he's very rough with them. I don't know if if these guys are going to handle.
Yeah, but Rico, everyone in Tampa Bay is saying the right things. They're like, his attention to detail. This is what we needed. He's demanding. So you're saying Drew Brees is going to have more yards and more touchdown passes, despite the fact that Sean Payton has intimated that he may give Drew Brees 2 to 3 weeks off and play Hill as their starting quarterback.
They say a lot of things. Mike Tomlin has said he's going to have a running back by committee for the last 10 years. He's never done it. Whatever a coach says during the off season, you can almost bet they're doing the opposite. Because why let out your best laid plan? I mean, because it looks like that's something he can do, right? Like, it sounds like something, but Drew Brees is going to be there the next 2 years. The year after that, I could see that happening. This upcoming year, because here's the thing. You got to talk Drew Brees into taking a week off, and that's not happening.
Okay, so would you say that both of these teams, super high expectations, who is more Super Bowl or bust, the Tampa Bay Bucks or the New Orleans Saints?
New Orleans Saints by far.
I disagree. They've been to one Super Bowl.
Yeah, but it's exactly. But Tampa Bay.
They lost to the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins last year at home.
At home, but Tampa Bay has done nothing. Tampa Bay's had losing years. What do you mean? It's like if they get into if they go round deep in the playoffs, they're already way further than they expected. Putting Tom Brady on your team doesn't give you a guaranteed Super Bowl or bust. Because if that was the case, every team in the NFL would be throwing millions of dollars at him to get him on their team. That's not so. I don't think Tampa Bay is.
Rico, how can you say it's Super Bowl or bust for the month? I'm going to say this right now, and I know my brother Pete is going to go nuts. The New Orleans Saints are the most overrated team over the last decade in the history of the NFL. All I hear is how they're going to win the Super Bowl. They lost to the Minnesota Vikings on the last play of a game, a Hail Mary. They lost to the Minnesota Vikings at home with Kirk Cousins, who hasn't won a big game in 7 years. Don't talk about the Saints like they're an elite team. They're not.
They are an elite team by their record and by who they beat. How can you say they're not an elite team? I'm not even – this is an argument that is insane because the fact that you personally think that they're not an elite team, their record shows they're an elite team. Their wide receiver shows they're an elite team. Leave the Saints alone. They're a national treasure. I wouldn't go that far. Let's relax on national treasure. But I think that they are a top team in every draft.
They're not elite. Elite is getting to Super Bowls. They're not elite. The Steelers have gotten to Super Bowls. The Packers have gotten to Super Bowls. The Patriots have gotten to Super Bowls. The Denver Broncos have gotten to Super Bowls. Don't tell me the Saints are elite when they have gotten to one Super Bowl.
I can't argue with the fact that they've only gone to one Super Bowl, but they've been to one Super Bowl they've been to. They won that Super Bowl. Didn't they win that Super Bowl?
Yes, they did. But they're not elite.
Well, what the definition of what they have a good no-name defense. Their defense is good.
You're not answering the question. Elite.
I believe they're an elite team. I believe they're a team that gets to the playoffs every year. Every year they're in the playoffs, and they don't have the easiest division. They're in the playoffs every year. They're in the hunt. They make it to the second season every year. Minnesota may be their crux, and I think every time they've lost to Minnesota, they were a better team than Minnesota going into that game. So why they lost? Who knows why they lose those games? But I feel like
what are we doing here? We're saying that a team is elite, that they've been to 2 NFC championships, 1 Super Bowl. That's not elite. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Every year a team is different. So we're talking about the Patriots, still an elite team. Are they an elite team? Can we consider them an elite team? No, because they're not elite.
We're talking 1 NFC championship, 1 Super Bowl. How is that elite in the last decade?
Well, we're talking about elite in the sense of that there are 4 or 5 elite teams in the league. They're definitely in the top 5 of the better teams in the NFL. That's my opinion, if that's what we want to go to, which is pretty much almost fact.
So how many times have you said that to your family members and to Melissa, where you say it's my opinion, but it's fact? If you want to go to that,
I said, but it's mostly fact. I leave them like one, like when you get that virus spray, like like the Lysol, it's 99.9% that it works. Who knew that 0.1% was the coronavirus?
So Rico, you're saying to me that if the Saints don't get to the Super Bowl, it's going to be more of a disappointment than if the Tampa Bay Bucks don't get to the Super Bowl.
Well, just let's play out the fact that the Tampa Bay Bucks have 0 playoff, besides one player, have 0 playoff experience. It's like the Rams when they went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots. The Rams had 0. They had 1 player that's been to the Super Bowl compared to a team that had like 22 players. And at the end of the day, that made a big difference. So to call a Super Bowl a bust to a team who doesn't even know what it is to have a bye week going into a playoff game is hard for me to swallow.
What do you think of this statement? Here's what I will say. Okay, Andrea's partly right, and George said that people are saying Father Time is undefeated. But you got to look at those offensive weapons. Godwin, Mike Evans, they are stacked offensively.
Well, they're I can't imagine that they don't have a good year with that offense and Tom Brady, doing what Tom Brady does. But Bill Belichick is considered one of the smartest coaches in the NFL and one of the best, maybe even in the history of the NFL. And you know what? He had no problem letting him go. And you know what? They said he would have let him go 2 years ago. And that was 2
they
years
wanted
ago
Jimmy Garoppolo. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Rico. So I think the funniest part of this show and the first 4 shows is when Joe said this to me. Read this out loud, Rico. I don't have any facts,
but I disagree,
with you.
That was the best line.
You love that line. That's what you just said. You said it's my opinion. It's my opinion, but it's 99% fact.
Yeah, that's the new. That doesn't beat Joe's, but that's a new one.
Listen. I think if Tampa Bay doesn't go, I will say this. If I was betting $1,000, I would say Tampa Bay goes further in the playoffs than the New Orleans Saints.
I would be shocked. I feel like they're both going to hit the same wall at the same spot in the playoffs.
Okay.
I don't think
All right, let's move on. We have about, we're going to go a little overtime here. We have about 7-8 minutes left. Let's get Christian McCaffrey out of the way, the all-world running back of the Carolina Panthers. Give us, because fantasy football is going to start. I'm actually doing my league in 2 weeks, and I'm starting up a league with my friend Andrea and her sons. We're going to do a league. So name your top 5 fantasy football running backs. Fans, you could write this down. We're leaving Christian McCaffrey of Carolina out of it. Go, Rico.
I would start off with these are easy. I mean, Shaquan Barkley from the New York Giants, Ezekiel Elliott from the Dallas Cowboys, Alvin Kamara from the New Orleans Saints, playoff-bound New Orleans Saints, Dalvin Cook from the team that's going to beat the New Orleans Saints, the Minnesota Vikings, Joe Mixon, and you could throw.
Whoa! Joe Mixon?
Yep,
from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Him and Nick Chubb are very underrated. I think.
How can you put Joe Mixon ahead of Nick Chubb?
Well, you know what? I don't have faith in the offensive line of the Cleveland Browns, and the reason why is we're talking fantasy points. Joe Mixon doesn't have much competition with, never mind running back or wide receivers, and he's got a rookie quarterback, so they're going to have to work giving him the ball more. So that I think is why Joe Mixon goes over Chubb. Where Chubb, you have to throw to OBJ. You have to throw to Jarvis Landry. You just signed that tight end. You have to throw to him. You can't not have these weapons and not mix them in. So,
but see, Rico, I think the Cleveland coaching staff has already said we're going to feed the rock. We're going to run the ball, and they're going to limit Baker Mayfield to throwing 20 to 25 times a game. Nick Chubb is an absolute stud.
Stud. I think he's great, but on my top 5, I would rather have Mixon over him. And if you notice that top 5, Derrick Henry comes after both of them. And, when you watch him in the playoffs last year, he looks like he was the best running back in the NFL.
So you don't have Derrick Henry in your top 5 either?
Nope. And it's surprising. A lot of people don't have him in the top 5.
What is going on? This show has gone on. Rico and I, normally we disagree, but we disagree like so far end of the spectrum. How do you not put Derrick Henry over Joe Mixon? That's insane. Derrick Henry has had the most rushing yards over the past 3 years.
Well, the most over the last 3 years, but the thing is, doesn't get in the end zone. He gets the yards, but he's not crossing the line.
So you're relying on a rookie quarterback in Cincinnati, who has a history of failure. You're saying that he's going to be a top 5 guy? Is this Levi talking, or is it you? Is he in your earpiece right now?
You know what? I wish he was, because I'd hear him screaming in the back. I'd hear him screaming, and I wouldn't even be able to listen. To respond to the comment. But you know what? I'm not the only one. A lot of people feel the same way. A lot of people don't have, for some reason. And you know what? Before this draft started, I would have put him in the top 4 for the top 4 picks overall. But Michael Thomas falls in the middle of those those running backs. But you know what? For some reason, I'm not the only one who feels the same way.
So you're going to draft Joe Mixon before Derrick Henry if they're on the board.
That Levi would 100%.
But Rico, Levi's not here.
Ticking,
it's your segment. It's your
I
segment.
know.
You're the co-star.
This is where I am on paper today, having a conversation with somebody. But if the clock is ticking, it's tough because when they say the clock is ticking, you only have so much time to pick a player. So if the clock is ticking and I had to make a panic pick, it would be Derrick Henry, but I don't think it would be the right pick.
I don't want you to panic. I want you to prepare like you do. So if you're prepared, who are you picking? Derrick Henry, the running back from the Tennessee Titans who carried them to the AFC Championship, or a running back from the Cincinnati Bengals who people don't even know?
Again, it's on the outside. That's what makes fantasy football beautiful. It's on the outside. It's such an obvious answer. That's such an obvious answer that you would think it's Derrick Henry. But again, I am not the only one. A lot of draft boards have Joe Mixon above Derrick Henry. I'm not sure exactly why, but I really see why in the sense of Derrick Henry is not going to see the ball 20 times a game. They're not going to burn out their number one weapon, their practically only weapon every game. So they're going to be games where he doesn't get the ball as often, where Joe Mixon will get – they're going to just run him to the ground. He's still in his rookie contract. They'll burn him out like they try to do every time there's a rookie running back in their contract.
Rico, blink twice if Levi is blackmailing you.
Levi is very passionate about this, so I have to follow the lead.
Listen, we got to get him back on because there's no way in hell I'm taking a Cincinnati running back over Derrick Henry. I'm sorry.
Okay. My phone isn't blowing up.
Okay, let's move on. More touchdown passes this season. This is something that's my friend Andrea loves the Giants. She thinks they're going to make the playoffs this year. Sam Darnold of the Jets or Daniel Jones of the Giants, more touchdown passes?
You know, that's a great question because at the end of the day, they both have premier running backs. But I think Darnell purely because I think that Le'Veon Bell is a better pass catcher and finds the end zone. You know, like they'll throw to him within 5 yards to where they'll hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley in 5 yards. You know what I'm saying? In the sense that their touchdowns.
You said at the end of the day, so that's why I put this up here. So who has more touchdown passes? You're leaning towards Sam Darnold of the Jets, right?
Well, I am because I think he'll throw more touchdowns. Within 10 yards, if you're the Giants, you're handing off the ball. If you're the Jets, you're throwing dump passes to Le'Veon Bell to have him find his way into the end zone, which even though it's a 1 yard pass, it still counts as a passing touchdown.
So, Rico, do you agree with my friend Andrea? Do you agree that the Giants are a borderline playoff team?
No. I wish they were. I like the Giants. I wish they were a borderline. I wish I could say that, and I really want to say that, but just again, Vegas odds of their over-under of what they're going to do. Vegas is close, always very close. Surprisingly, you know, it'd be shocking if they got more than 7 wins this year, which I like the Giants. Just, you know, I grew up right by there, and I like the Jets, but at the end of the day, drink.
I mean, seriously, are you trying to get people drunk? I mean,
yeah, it's the best way to start a Sunday with nothing to do.
You know what? Plus, when people get drunk, we have better personalities. We are more attractive. So that's always a good thing. Rico, final question. Austin Hooper, tight end, had 75 catches for the Atlanta Falcons this season. He is now a Cleveland Brown, signed a 4-year contract worth $44 million, $23 million guaranteed. I think he's going to be the safety valve for Baker Mayfield. Does he catch 70 balls this year?
No, the reason he won't catch 70 balls is because he was a safety valve also up in Atlanta. And Atlanta is a pass-happy team. They just throw the ball all the time. Every running back they ever get's always hurt or limping around the field. So they're just, you know, Matt Ryan just throws the ball. He's a slinger. He's kind of like Phillip Rivers. They put him on the field. They don't give him much support in the backfield, and he just throws the ball. Is there even enough ball to go around? Cleveland falls into the same thing they fell in last year. Now you have 3 premier receivers, you have a premier running back, and you have a premier backup running back.
But so, Rico, would you say that Julio Jones, is a better wide receiver than Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yes, yeah. Odell Beckham, I think so.
So if
I think
Julio Jones is getting double teamed, okay, you can't double team Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. So that's why I think Austin Hooper is going to be a top 3 fantasy football tight end. You're saying no, he's not going to be.
top 3. You're talking about Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews. There's top 3 is a
He
stretch.
was last year.
Yeah, but again, last year, and just real quick, going back to the fantasy draft, you could have got him on the waiver wire. So to speak about,
But you can't get him now. You can't get him now.
You can't get him now. But I'm saying there's players who you'll put on, you won't take a kicker for. It's too complicated to explain. But again, that falls into where I was talking about, where you could put a player on your list. Will he get 75 catches? No. Will he have a great year? Yes. Purely because
my question to you is the over under 70.
Oh, under. He's going to be under. That's a lot of balls going his way. You're talking he's got to get at least 5 catches a game every game of the season.
But he did that with Atlanta with Julio Jones. And Calvin Ridley, who's a legitimate number 2. He did that with an arguably better wide receiving core in Atlanta. That's why.
Yeah, but he also had a way worse line. When you have a terrible offensive line, the quarterback only has so much time to get rid of the ball. And how much, what were those? He had a lot of touchdowns for a tight end. But, I mean, how many of those catches were for 4 yards, 5 yards? You're just talking about catches. What's the he got a lot of volume purely because how many of those plays were improvised?
So are you saying, real quick, and then we'll get to Rico's rant. We're talking to Rico Graziano on the Full Monte Sports Show. We got about 5 minutes left. Are you saying that you would not consider Austin Hooper a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football this year?
Top 5, yes, definitely. I would consider him a top 5, not top 3, but top 5.
So you're high on him.
High enough, but he'll never fall in he'll never be on my team. He'll never be high enough for me to draft him. Somebody will get him way before I would even consider him.
Okay.
I pick tight end. If I don't get the top 3 tight ends, I don't pick a tight end until later in the draft.
So now when you come on this show, Rico, and you said you prepped with Levi, now, does he yell at you after the show?
Yes, he has. He doesn't yell. He's a very calm person. He shakes his head. He's kind of like Melissa. He just – that's what I get. I get that every once in a while.
Rico, why do I have a feeling that everyone close to you gives you that look at least 3 times a day?
At least 3 times. Each person is allowed 1 because after the 1, I don't really pay attention. But yes.
So what is the biggest argument Levi has had with you so far?
The biggest is our biggest argument is that when we come down, the clock is ticking on who to pick. He will dominate, make the call, and pick the player. And so this year, and I get mad at him. And so this year we have a thing that whoever picks, whoever does that, the next guy does it next. So we go back and forth, but he'll make the call when we're like, do we get this player or that player, this player or that player? He'll be like, this player, and I'm like, well, where was I in that final equation? And so we've gotten in arguments about that, and he'll start the argument, which makes it even funnier.
All right, Rico, people are getting really excited every week for your rant. Joe Cardozo says, the lawyers are ready. This is from the movie Napoleon Dynamite, where Uncle Rico there on the right just starts going off and ranting, talking trash. So, Rico, you have the floor.
Yeah, baby. All right. Actually, you know what? This week I was going to go into a rant about the stimulus package, about how, there's 2 sides fighting and while everybody's getting hungry. And then I was going to go on to how DirecTV makes me a criminal, or forcing me to be a criminal, but I'll save that for other weeks.
Wait, time out. I can't let that go. First of all, we know you have criminal tendencies. We know this. So how is DirecTV forcing you to be a criminal?
At my new house, I don't have DirecTV. DirecTV gives me, and the NFL are making me there. I would pay. I would gladly pay for a way to watch NFL games live. The only way you can do that is by getting DirecTV, either getting their app or getting a satellite put on your dish and paying up to $500-$600. At the end of the day, it's $500 or $600 to get DirecTV. So they're making me a criminal by having to go online through some shady website or somewhere else that is rotten. So they're making me a criminal. And Alex knows I live in LA. I'm in the entertainment world. I shouldn't have to do that. it makes me feel bad.
Why are you announcing on TV? We have listeners all across the country. Why are you announcing that you're going to do something illegal? Joe, the lawyers are standing by. What are you doing?
Well, I'm hoping one of these people give me a good site to go to. That somebody says, "Hey, since you're going to break the law, the NFL is the only plead the fifth." Exactly. That's what I'm going to do, George. See, George, me and George, we're right there together.
Go back to your rant, Rico.
Well, the rant was going to be a story. So I feel like my story rant is going to be about my original mentor, Peperica Pauly from New Jersey, who taught me everything I know about gambling. He was a degenerate gambler, but he was a winner, and he knew the lines and he knew how things worked. And when I was 15 years old, he said to me, he said, "Rico, you got what it takes to be a great gambler." And I said, "Paulie, what's that?" He said, "You got money." So, but he goes, but besides that, he goes, "You see the things people don't see." Now, at 15 years old, he taught me how to read a sports book, a racetrack betting book. He taught me about how to bet middles, which is if a team opens up the line and they're going to win by 10 points and somebody gets hurt before the game, so you make the bet at 10 points and then the line changes to 5 points. You bet both sides. You bet the Lakers and the Clippers and hope that it falls in between those two so you win both bets.
Can I ask a question here?
Go ahead.
What's the guy's name again?
Peperica Pauly.
Okay.
But that story is about to happen.
Where does a 15-year-old meet a character named Peperica Pauly?
Well, I met him at my family's deli in Jersey. So he was an Italian guy. But the name Peperica Pauly, when I met him, it was only Pauly. Right. And then we used to go to the horse track. And at the track, he used to go see all the horses. We used to see everybody. He was a very well-known person there. And we used to actually go downstairs, see the jockeys, everything. He would pet the horses before they'd go on. He'd whisper in their ears, "Please, I need this." It was hilarious. So in the late 80s, guys were always never underestimate the moral compass of a gambler or a drug addict. Never underestimate it. They'll always go below the line that you think, whatever line, how low as it is. So sometimes guys would put like jalapeno in a horse's mouth. So when the horse would run, it would get air and it'd cool down so they'd run faster. He says to me one day, he goes, "I work better when I feel better." And I didn't know what he meant. So he ended up getting Peperica, right? And he did this, and he was smart enough to do this, and he wanted to do it on the long shot of the horse. He'd put Peperica in the horse's crotch. So, but it wouldn't burn. But when a horse would run, it would feel nice and cool. So it would give the horses an edge because they would run faster because it felt better to put Peperica in a horse's crotch. So eventually, and like I said, you'd get the horse that would be third or fourth place that would win that race. And they would win the race, and we would bet on it. And eventually he got caught, and they wouldn't let him back down by the horses anymore, but they didn't kick him out of the Meadowlands because apparently it was a very it was clearly breaking the rules, but not enough to kick him out of the whole track. So they made him just sit upstairs and watch horse racing. He couldn't go downstairs anymore, but he got caught doing it. So hence he got the name Peperica Pauly, one of my many mentors of gambling.
Rico, what's so disturbing? First of all, there's so many disturbing things about this story, but the fact that you call him your mentor is really, really disturbing on every level. Now I'm going to post this, Rico, and let's just change average person to average gambler, right? Think about how stupid the average gambler is. Then realize that half of them are stupider than that. The thing of a gambler is they always think the next one is going to be the one, right? They always think the next one is going to be the one. Now, you say he made a living doing this. He was a successful degenerate gambler.
It was enough to get him going by. He didn't become a millionaire, but he was in the game every day. He was the guy who said to me when it came to playing poker, he said, "Rico, it's about patience. Sit there. Sooner or later, you're going to get a winning hand. And you just sit there and you just keep saying no, no, no. And sooner or later, you're going to Peperica in a horse's crotch." Oh, my God, LOL. Maybe if you want to run a little faster, who knows? It might work for humans, too. I don't know.
Let me just explain something. I don't care how much money I'm in the hole. I never bet what I can't lose. I'm never going to be so desperate as your mentor to touch
one
a
of.
horse's crotch. One of your mentors.
Hey, it was better than what was happening at the time. So at the time, as a 15-year-old kid, I was like, hey, it's a lesser of two evils. Small fact about that whole story is that he actually got the paprika from my store. So I'm just saying, the rules. He changed the rules at the Meadowlands racetrack. So, that takes a lot. Think about it. In a gambling environment, to find the great, he's like the Bill Belichick of horse gambling.
Rico, you're getting killed on this opening.
I love George. He's like my favorite. Him and John.
Wow, Rico. Listen, there's the opening rant again. Successful degenerate animal abuser is Rico.
I didn't say he's my hero. He's the guy who taught me about gambling. One of the few. He's the guy who taught me how to read a horse track racing book. That's who he was. He was that part of the many that have come into play. But that was the story because it's a funny, memorable story. And every time you use paprika, guess what? You'll think of that story.
I say this all the time about Rico is that I compare him to the movie The Outsiders. And Patrick Swayze in the movie The Outsiders is part of the greasers, but he wants to be part of the socias. Rico, because of his sister, his family, his lovely partner, partly because of me and my family, Rico wants to be that degenerate, but we don't let him. We don't let him. We call him out all the time. Rico wants to be the soch. We're all greasers.
You guys keep pulling me back. Every time I try, I'm almost there, and I just get yanked right back.
Wow. I think this is the tweet of the day. I think that's the comment of the day right there.
I think that one's Joe. Joe nails it.
That was awesome. All right, Rico, thank you so much. Listen, tell Levi he's insane for picking a Cincinnati running back with a rookie quarterback, Joe Burrows, as a top 5 running back. That is probably the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Well, I think you need to have him on so you can get his full opinion on it. Because I'd like to hear him say it to somebody besides me. Because when he says it to me, it makes great sense. But then when I hear it from you, I'm like, he's right. Monte is right.
Rico, love having you on. We'll see you next week, my friend. Thanks so much.
Guys. Thank you.
All right, that was Rico. Listen, so entertaining, beyond belief. I don't know where to go with that story, but listen, that's what Rico does, right? Rico is such an interesting character. He has that story is just a tip of the iceberg onto the criminal element that I allow on my show. He does a tremendous job. So before we get to my extra point, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank John Meyer for joining us to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. I want to thank Stephen Diener. You can check him out. A Dose of Diener on 6:40 a.m. Fox Sports, 12:55 Eastern Time. He has a rant. It's hilarious. Alex Scooby, actor from King of Queens, definitely a passionate Dolphin fan. He says he could watch this all day. As a Jet fan, I can't watch that. And, of course, Rico, Show Me the Money, Graziano, just brought the heat. I want to thank everyone for listening. And now we end each show with Monte's extra point. I love this because the ref gets jacked right in the shoulder. Look at that. Jacked right in the shoulder. So Monte's extra point. So here we go, people. Look, this week we saw this. The Oakland A's, Ryan Christensen, while everyone was giving elbows, he puts the Hitler Nazi salute up. Now, he said he didn't mean it. He said that it was a lot of players are defending him and saying that that was uncharacteristic of him. Let me post this one more time. There's nothing funny about a Nazi salute. There's nothing funny about Nazis. We saw Heather Heyer right here in Charlottesville. Heather Heyer was murdered by James Field, a right-wing Nazi. While she was peacefully protesting, he ran her over. We're seeing this all over the country. People wearing masks with swastikas on. This is absolutely disgusting, and Ryan Christensen of the Oakland A's should be fired. should be fired. There's nothing funny about a Nazi salute. Remember something. The Nazis lost in World War II because they were killing innocent people. They were murdering Jews, torturing them, locking them up in cages, locking them up in prisons. So this is not funny. This is not a joke. This is not anything that should be tolerated. The Oakland A's should be fired. This coach, Ryan Christensen, should be fired. Now, the Oakland A's issued a statement saying that it was in poor taste. No, it's not in poor taste. It's in disgusting taste. He needs to be fired. So if you're on social media, you need to post this. Ryan Christensen, Oakland A's, Nazi salute, and you need to demand that this gentleman gets fired. I am not going back to this. We are not going back as a country. Growing up, there were two things that we knew were evil: the Russians and the Nazis. Now, all of a sudden, everywhere you go, you're seeing Nazis and you're seeing Russian sympathizers. That is not what America is all about. So again, go to your social media account and please tell the Oakland A's that this has no place in Major League Baseball, and we will not tolerate this. We will not stand for this. We will not sit for this. We will not put up with this. We are not going back to World War II. We are not going back to Nazis. We are not going back. So what we can do, if you're watching this show, is act out on Facebook, social media, post this. Let's embarrass this coach, and let's force the Oakland A's to fire this man. And that is my final point of the full Monte Sports Show. The extra point. Listen, we're seeing it all over the country. Alex Scooby said it. People have talked about it. We're seeing hatred and vitriol, and it needs to stop. Be like my parents, right? Be like my parents. We started the show with this, and we'll end the show with them. Be giving. Be passionate. Don't be like me, who pretends not to hear people. Be like them. And if we do that, we'll all be better off. You've been listening to the full Monte Sports Show. We record on Sunday so you don't have to. And in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. Thanks for watching.